Welcome back to the ATI podcast, everybody. We've got a very exciting episode ahead for you here. We're going to be talking about one of our favorite things that we've talked about routinely here on the show, and that's movies, of course, and specifically horror movies. So we've got some guests with us today. I'm going to go around the room and introduce everybody. Going to start with the familiar faces. Me, Barrett Lewis, of course, as usual. Thanks to anybody that's joining us live on Twitch. We've got Ridge Jackson here in person, as well as Josh Welch.
Hello.
Routinely. To my side, we've got Brandon Stewart here with us as well, routine contributor to the show. And we're going to have back Mr. Doug Wicker here from Search Party Pictures.
Hey, guys.
And we're going to get his expert opinion and view on some films here. And we got Mr. Danny King, new to the show. Danny King from It's Just Two Movies.
Welcome, sir.
Yo!
Welcome.
How we doing, gentlemen?
Doing fantastic, sir. Thank you for coming on the show. Been excited. Been trying to get you on the show here for a while, and I'm a fan of your podcast specifically. We've shared some of your guys' stuff on social media and stuff, and tried to recommend folks, and played you guys' trailer on our show and everything. So you guys are doing a lot of fun stuff over there.
Happy to be here. Sorry it took so long. I routinely spend too much time playing with myself, so giving me a lot of time for guest spots.
I'm doing it right now. Yeah, I got to multitask, man.
That's why we got the camera panned at a certain angle.
That would be a perfect time to advertise our sponsor, Cake. Cake lotion that you can use with one hand and it melts to your member. Cake.
Yeah, Cake has become a routine sponsor on our program. So, Danny, before we get into our list and stuff, I just want to take a moment to talk about your podcast, kind of what the concept of it is for anybody that's joining us and not familiar with what you do on It's Just Two Movies.
Yeah, if you could enlighten me as to what my show is about, that would be very helpful. We've done almost 95 episodes now, and we're still trying to fucking figure out exactly what it is that we're doing.
Yeah.
Well, the way that I've described it to people is that you do pick out two movies comparatively, and there's some linking change, whether it's a pun or play on name or a commonality like theme per se or something of that ilk. Is that kind of describing it, giving it justice somewhat?
Yeah, I would say what we normally try to do is like if you pick a movie that you really want to make your friend watch that they just for whatever reason have never gotten around to watching. So now they have to watch it as homework, and then you get to sit down and have this discussion. But also, if you've ever just watched something that was so bad it was good, like something your girlfriend almost immediately vetoed, that is the other half of the show. We try to pick something like that, and just take a big old shit on it and have some beers and
Hell yeah. Yeah, dude, it's a phenomenal format. I really do enjoy it, and I hope people do check you guys out. And
man, that sounds great. It's just two movies.com. We have a .com.
Oh, damn. Moving on. Look at you.
You got that before Trump did?
He had to get on the big league the rest of us.
Trump tried to buy that one up with the peeing on the faces.
I will sell it for now.
Yeah.
There you go.
Danny's the reason why the .com boom busted.
Yeah. Now we have you to blame. Thanks, Danny.
Yeah.
So, Doug, you've got some exciting things in the work now. I know you've got a film festival come up in St. Louis where you're going to be showing What Happened to the Others there, right? And but that film festival's already sold out. So, nonetheless, let's talk about it. When's it happening?
It did, yeah. It's a first-year festival. It's going to be. Let me pull up the dates because I don't know about you guys, but people don't tend to remember that stuff very well.
Yeah. Well, you got a lot going on, my man.
It's always something. So it's a first-year festival. So it's actually ran by a guy, Paul Hibbard. He just kind of saw the local film communities really having like a moment of like things are really starting to coalesce. A lot of filmmakers out there, a lot of opportunity to really help program and push local talent, connect a lot of people, but also more importantly, like really just kind of help create a foothold for genre film in the St. Louis area. Like there hasn't really been a dedicated film festival for horror in the area.
Sure.
We have like St. Louis International and the Filmmaker Showcase and everything like that. And while they accept horror films, to curate something so specific and so in tune with genre and seek out films that maybe wouldn't really be considered or maybe would be overlooked by a certain type of audience, but to bring this all together. And so the festival is called Hysteria Fest.
Yeah.
And he's teamed up with Arcade Cinema in Bevo Mill area. I don't know if you guys know that area very well, but it's kind of in the South County part of St. Louis. It's not too hard to find.
Absolutely.
And they're a really cool little theater. It's a micro cinema. It's not super big, but you know they're relatively recently opened. Like maybe the last really right before COVID, they bought the theater and started renovating it and doing all this work, and then COVID hit, and so they could only really work out of their back lot. So they've been renovating and trying to finish the front end of the theater to get everything ready to open it up to be a more traditional cinema.
Cool.
But they have really, really outstanding programming, honestly. Like, they take chances on stuff. There's things they play that I'm often like, wow, God, I'd die to see that in theater. Like, I just, what a great opportunity to go see this. And then they also have series, like they have Drinkless Cage, where they play a Nick Cage movie and you just get hammered while you watch it.
Nothing better.
You have like a bingo card for all the things that Cage does during the movie, and man, and it's the Cageisms, it's the things we love about the one true God,
right? Absolutely,
and,
God of film.
But yeah, so it's going to be a really great opportunity to check out these films. Yeah, it sold out much faster. I can even say sold out faster. I didn't expect it to sell out, but it did, and that's a really cool thing. Except for the fact that it's like I don't have any room or any sway to get anyone else in there. So I've been like, it's like, oh man, hey, how many people can I get in a guest list? And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fair. Like, I don't want to be like hogging up seats if there's people off the street that are just
it being a smaller cinema too, I'm sure they're pretty limited on what they can do in the ilk of
that. I'm not certain how big the seating is, but I know it's not like it's not like 10 people or 15 people. I think it's somewhere like 40 to 50 maybe that the capacity is.
Hey Doug, is that your way of telling Danny that he's not invited to your screening?
It's the long way around.
Yeah, it's like I tried to get certain people into this, but I'm not a big deal yet.
I appreciate.
I took off work.
Wait on that.
Yeah, I scheduled vacation because we're gonna go to the horror trivia night thing at the Heavy Anchor.
Hell yeah!
And then the following day we were gonna go to Hysteria Fest. And it was like, oh, you can buy tickets at the door. And I was like, oh, all right. Well, I'm not really sweating it. It's $20. We'll get it next week or whatever when we know for sure who's going with us. Fucking sold out, which is great. I mean, I'm thrilled for Doug. That's fucking awesome, man. But also I wanted to go. So
to my knowledge, this event selling out 2 nights. It's only the second time that it's sold out anything.
I might still go and see if anybody's scalping.
Probably not a bad idea. I mean,
it sounds like
Danny, I'll keep my eyes out for you and see what's going on.
Yeah, I'll totally keep my eyes out for you, Danny. It's no big deal. I swear to God.
Says the guy is not sharing his camera right now.
But he's just like jerking his dick right now. He's just like, fucking, who gives a fucking shit, Danny?
I forgot about that. Let me get back in there.
Again, sponsored by Cake, a masturbation lotion.
So, the night in between the 21st, horror trivia night, it's open to the public. It's adjacent to the festival, so it's like a lot of us will be there to just kind of kick it and hang out with everybody. And it's like super cheap to get in. It's like $5 a team or $10 a team. I've done it before. It's been a little bit. Late Night Grindhouse, and your former guest, Andy Triefenbach, hosts it with Jeremy Jones, who's also a guest of Danny's. They co-host it together. It's a super awesome event. Like, there's times I come in there, and I was like, I know horror well enough. I feel competent. And then there's plenty of opportunities where I just like eat crow in front of everybody, where I'm like, I was like, oh shit, I guess that is from House on Haunted Hill, 1999.
Yeah, right.
It's challenging, but it's a total blast. So like if anyone's interested in that, that's totally worth coming and checking out.
Hell yeah. And also I know that they do the screenings there adjacent to the Heavy Anchor as well. They do movie showings and stuff out there on the occasion, which is really cool setup, kind of like a gravel lot with some outdoor seating and somebody running like an old school receiver and speaker system outside.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep, and Heavy Acre is literally next door to Arcade Cinema. They're just like really walk out the front door of one, and it's right next door. So it's a super, super easy kind of evening. Parking's like pretty much free all around that area. So kind of a thing like you feel like, well, parking's a hassle.
Right.
There's a whole lot next to you that you're just gonna have all sorts of room to do what you want to do.
Doug is
Also
saying
good
that there's no
food there.
excuses, everybody. So
Yeah, no excuses.
even though it's sold out,
Yeah.
there's no excuses.
Yeah, to show up to a sold out show, no excuses.
Just stand in line. You leave.
Break down the doors, batter down like any humans that are in front of those doors. Mass chaos just to see.
Cut in front of Danny. If you see him, make sure you cut in front of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, stab him.
That'd
I mean,
be
he's
great.
stabbable.
Yeah, and then just be like, sorry, we don't allow your kind in here. Just fucking fat white people? I bet there's fat white people in there.
I was
That'll
gonna say,
clean out like half of the audience in this.
Alrighty, so everybody's here today to talk about 5 horror movies. And I labeled it as 5 favorite horror movies, but it's really difficult for me to narrow down a list of 5 of anything in general. And to say 5 favorite horror, I'm sure that there's things that we're going to look back on and slap ourselves over for not having it on the list. But also, the idea here is having the array of people on the call today and our roundtable discussion is that we are going to provide that cavalcade, that smorgasbord of selections. And so hopefully we're going to get a little bit of a variety for you folks here today, our viewers, our listeners. And maybe you're going to hear about something you haven't heard of them. And of course, there's going to be some classics on the list that everybody's probably familiar with, but hopefully we've got some real obscure picks for folks to check out too. And maybe end up finding a new favorite actor, director, subgenre of horror specifically. But it's spooky season, so we got to get with the tradition, everybody's. Mm-hmm. I'm going to start things off for everybody and just kind of talk about how I had to narrow down my 5. And I just tried to kind of segment it into kind of comfort horror films. If you listened to our show last week, Andy Triefenbach, our guest, we kind of got into a talk about comfort horror films, what the things that we go to routinely. And so some of the things on my list reflect that, but also variety. So I'm going to start off with my first one, and it's a traditional one. And that's going to be the original first Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. And that, to me, is a top 10 film of all time, in my opinion. It's shot so beautifully well. The acting's there. The character acting of Robert Englund in particular is just top notch. I feel like he is the standard bearer for, and often Nightmare on Elm Street gets kind of lumped into that slasher genre. I think that he is of the best characters in the slasher genre, and iconic, can't be replaced. They tried to redo Nightmare on Elm Street a few years ago, in the 2010s decade, that is, and not to speak ill of the attempt there, but it wasn't Robert Englund.
Right.
So,
I'm curious. What'd you think of Richard Brake as Freddy Krueger?
I don't have any problem.
I didn't really have a problem with it.
That I didn't have a problem with.
It was Jackie Earle Haley, Danny.
Jackie Earle Haley?
Yeah, it was Jackie Earle Haley in the movie.
Yeah, I love his voice for it.
But, do they
the guy from Watchmen.
Is that a guy that looks like Richard Brake? Who am I fucking thinking of?
They're pretty similar. I could 100% see how you make it.
Yeah, Jackie Earle. He was the cat in Watchmen. He played Rorschach.
It was Rorschach, yeah.
Gotcha.
Which is crazy because I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, no, that's Richard Brake in Watchmen.
It's kind of like one of those Mandelaisms, and it's kind of like the Dermot Mulroney and Dylan McDermott discussion.
I think this is a prime time to call out your wife yet again and tell the same story about how she believes that Michael Clark Duncan is the same as Forrest Whitaker, is the same as who else?
Michael Clark Duncan, Forrest Whitaker, and Lawrence Fishburne. She was getting all mixed up.
Oh, no.
In the various roles across cinema. Yeah.
I could see, I could understand.
If she's on the chat, she's probably going to grill me right now for telling me.
Fuck it.
Tiny Lister and maybe Michael Clark Duncan.
Yeah, maybe.
It's like two guys passing. Right. Like if you squinted your eyes, you can mix them up. But Forrest Whitaker, man,
that's hard. It's hard.
There's no replacing.
Right.
There's no replacing that man.
But back to Nightmare on Elm Street. The iconic things from that. More specifically the rhyme. 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. 3, 4, better lock your door. That just sticks with you. It's a childhood rhyme tweaked for the film. as well as the kill scenes. I mean, they're iconic. One of the first kill scenes, and you really don't get the whole concept and, the idea of what's going on quite yet, especially if you're watching it for the first time. Whenever the couple's in the bedroom and he starts rolling up on the ceiling and dies that way, it looks like, it almost looks paranormal what's going on there. The scene with Johnny Depp when he's in his room, one of the first groundbreaking performances for Johnny Depp, if you will, sitting there with the headphones on, listening to the record. And, that scene, the iconic scene with the girl in the bathtub and the scissor hands come up and through the water. Like, that is of the most iconic shots ever in cinema. If you show that little reel, everybody knows exactly what movie that's from. So, So that's my argument for that.
I would agree. A lot of the stuff in this, like for this, this movie from 1984, the budget's like $1.8 million. It looks phenomenal for $1.8 million. It looks great, and it turned out in the box office $57 million. So that was that's explosive.
At that time. Like when the report was last updated, like that movie has had such a reach and longevity that's incredible.
And you got to think the merchandising subsequently that's happened. Obviously, tons of sequels. The film speaks for itself. Just if you haven't seen it, watch it at least once. And even if you're not a big fan of horror, there's cinematic, technical aspects of the film, how they arrange the characters on scene, the lighting treatments, how they shoot things in certain situations. The alleyway shot with Freddy walking down the alleyway with a silhouette. I mean, it's iconic. So. So
I mean, real quickly, like that, out of the big three, the big slasher icons, even though like I love all of those for different reasons, like pound for pound, like Nightmare on Elm Street has some of the best imagery of all three. Like it elicits such a like perfect dreamlike quality. There's so many moments and scenes that are just like Halloween and Friday the 13th never reached the artistic heights that Nightmare on Elm Street did in that first film.
Totally, and the practical effects. I mean,
in the daydream sequence with when she sees the body bag driving around the school, it's just such a like perfect moment. And like you said, Robert Englund is Freddy. He's got a personality that you can't just swap him with anyone. Like it's just like a perfect film, really.
Well, you see the genre still paying homage to Batman still to this day. I mean, he was in Stranger Things. You know what I mean? He's still a recognized face of horror to this day in modern times.
So next,
I just watched him real quick. I watched another movie with Robert Englund like 2 weeks ago. He was in Lake Placid versus Anaconda.
Wow.
That sounds like a must see.
If you're curious what the best part is, it is just Robert Englund is the best part.
Yeah.
I have no.
I'm sure. Yeah,
that's a doozy. I bet.
That just sounds like a good hangover movie. Like,
don't
want to be alive.
Just
throw on something
mindless entertainment.
Insane.
Sure. So, Danny, with you being the first time on the show, I'm going to hand it off to you to give one of the films on your list next.
Oh, sure, man. But I'm going to go ahead and try to ruin one for maybe somebody else. I've got The Exorcist, directed by William Friedkin in 1973. Hey! So this is a movie that I classically have been like, if you think that you're into horror movies and for whatever reason you've never seen The Exorcist from 73, you're fucking wasting your time, man. I was like, my kid, I love sharing things with my kid. This is one I probably should have held out a little bit longer because, oh my God, it fucking terrified her. And we
how old was she when you showed it to
her? 12. And so this
I think that's a good age.
I
think that's a good age.
Yeah, well, Jesus, fuck you! And she's blasting herself with that crucifix in the vagina.
Yeah, I think it's a good age. I don't know.
I forgot.
About that part.
Well, there were some other ones that I'm like, this is probably like, it's walked right up to the line and just kind of puts its toes over of what's probably not appropriate for a child her age.
Dabbles them right over.
But I watched all kinds of weird shit like that when I was her age, and this is one that straight up, I was a very, very young like atheist where I'm like, this religion stuff is just not for me. But this is one that like had me kind of second guessing myself at a very young age and be like, God, it was just so fucking terrifying.
Right.
Acting's fantastic. Character arcs are fantastic. The guy they get to play the what's his name? Father Daniel. I don't have it.
Father Daniel.
Yeah. Exorcist. 2 seconds, gentlemen. Sorry about that.
That's okay. While you're looking up that, I'm just going to mention that I had it on my list as well, and I'll pepper in some of my opinions here momentarily.
Yeah. That's Jason Miller plays Damien Carras, and man, he just like as a like him being for me watching this and being 12, 13 years old and seeing this guy that's like in his 30s or 40s and he's a priest, he somehow is super fucking relatable, which I think to be able to make a character that's so different from the type of person that I am to still make them that relatable.
Right.
That takes talent in writing and also in the performance itself. I just think it's a great movie that fucking stands up. Practical effects look great. The girl's fucking terrifying. The story's fucking terrifying. Good flick.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, Linda Blair is her performance is iconic in that as well. And, you know, some of the imagery in the scenes that you talked about in particular, very controversial. So I grew up in a very strict UPC household with apostolic teaching. So UPC is United Pentecostal Church. Apostolic is particularly a line of holiness implementations, and it's an extreme Christian faith. And I was becoming a teenager, coming into my own puberty, all that fun stuff, yada, yada, questioning things. And this is a film that I saw at a very, pivotal time in my life. And I was just going one foot out of belief and going into, atheism and that sort of stuff. And this film scared me right back over the line, back over into Christianity for a good another 6 to 12 months.
It only scared him because he was intrigued by the cross and the puss. I mean, it was only the only reason is because he was like,
I had a weird boner. What can you say? But So and my mom had such an issue with like my dad showing me this movie, and too, like it was kind of a Pandora's box of just unsettling and controversial cinema that I would eventually get into, So it was kind of my gateway drug, if you will, for a lot of other films, like, my seeking for films like 120 Days of Sodom, Cannibal Holocaust, and on down the line to things like Antichrist in particular, or watching a Human Centipede or a Serbian film. Not to say that they're the same type of movies, but they definitely elicit that weird guttural feeling like I shouldn't watch, but I'm going to keep watching. Like you see a bad car wreck down the highway and somebody's dead, but you can't look away.
Right. Like one of those. Yeah.
So anybody else got anything they want to add to The Exorcist before we go on to another pick?
Yeah, just two quick things. Man, one time there was something, an interview I was listening to William Friedkin talk about when he went to film the movie Sorcerer, which was his follow-up to Exorcist, which if you haven't seen is fucking honest to God, like an incredible movie that if I could give you one takeaway from our entire conversation today, go watch Sorcerer like as soon as possible. It'll like fuck your world up in the best way.
Is it Sorcerer or The Sorcerer?
Just Sorcerer. It was made in 1977. Came out the same week in Star Wars did.
Oh, nice.
But it's one of the most stressful non-horror movies you'll ever see.
So I would like to go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, saying whenever he went to scout locations for that movie, he was coming into this little Mexican village where they were going to film. And on their way in, it was him and his crew driving in, and he said there was just hundreds of Mexican people with just shit on their shoulders, just walking like the opposite direction. And he kept passing hundreds of these Mexican people, just kept going. And he said, what's going on? Where are these people going? Is it like a holiday or something? And they go, no, they heard the director of The Exorcist is coming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that, and then my second piece is there's a very fucking insane movie with Jason Miller called A Dog Named Vengeance.
Yes.
And it's basically,
hell yeah.
It's a movie where Jason Miller breaks free, kills a corrections officer on his way out of jail. The entire movie is that correction officer's German Shepherd chasing him.
Yeah.
For the entirety of the movie. Even hitches rides and shit with people to catch up to him. It's one of the craziest things you'll ever see.
I have 2 German Shepherds, so
absolutely.
I'm all about this movie now.
It's on Tubi. It's a fucking nutso bonkers
It's a riot.
movie.
It's a riot.
Yeah.
For sure.
But that's it. I mean, there's so much to say about Exorcist, but we don't have all night. Anyway.
Doug, what movie you got on your list, brother?
Okay, my number 5. First off, I mean, it's no in particular order.
Right. Mine's the same.
But,
right.
Same.
Yeah, and I also really just want to stress like how fucking I came up with a list of 10. The other 5 are definitely like honorable mentions of huge notoriety, but this is the 5 I've settled on. Is like, if you had to force me to only give like 5 recommendations to someone, like to summarize my favorite taste in movies, number 5 would absolutely be Mike Dougherty's Trick or Treat. I feel like the movie it's such a fucking delightful movie front to back. It's so whimsical. It to me is like the perfect Halloween film to capture the spirit of Halloween in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Like the mischief, the mayhem, it's all there. Like it doesn't take itself overly seriously, but it also just has a lot of fun until it's time to have business. It covers so many, as an anthology, it covers so many different types of films. As one of the best musical scores I've ever heard. I'm obsessed with. I never get tired of hearing it. Absolutely killer performances all around. Great gags, great effects. Like I can't talk enough about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, real quick, because I know Barrett's going to go into he knew you were going to pick this thing.
I think
so the one thing for me is I'm on board with that. I think Trick or Treat is definitely something I play every Halloween, just like I play National Lampoon's Christmas on Christmas. Trick or Treat is played every single year, and my son. So I bought a Sam that dances with his lollipop for my desk, and he loved it so much that I had to yank it away from his fucking mitts because I was like, "This is my Sam, bro." So I bought him a $30 Sam that he carries around with him everywhere. Like every fucking where, dude.
I can't express how happy that makes me to hear. Like I love every time I get a spirit of Halloween every year and I see it grow more and more. I just think because like the legacy of the film, it was made, then it was shelved for 2 years and then just dumped on video. And I remember seeing it when it came out because at that time, I was in my 20s, had a little bit of disposable income. And I would just go buy these like $10 like Walmart fucking
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like all of us, Dougie.
$10 Walmart,
like all of us.
Walmart bin,
Yeah.
And I remember picking that one up and like bringing it home, just kind of being like, okay, I don't know what to expect from this. And within like 20 minutes, I'm like, first off, this is a cut way above what I thought. Like, just the execution, like just in the first 20 minutes was like, fuck, this is not a direct-to-video movie. Like somebody was like coming in and then finding out all this like baggage about the film being dumped. They didn't know what to do with it. All this shit, and to just know that that cult following has just grown in mass every year since then. Like every time you go in there, man, I see people. Like I went there when they first opened this season, and there was a girl just like right across from me, like in the aisles, and she was talking to her boyfriend about how it's getting re-released in theaters, or not even re-released, getting officially released in theaters.
Right.
Yeah.
And that to me was just like such an amazing thing. And I'm like, what a day to be alive, where it's like, if you just love something enough, maybe it'll get a second wind. It's pretty cool.
I saw Trick or Treat shortly after it came out.
I'm glad racism doesn't work that way. You know what I mean?
yeah, right. That's
the new Jordan Peele movie.
It is. Yes, it is. Fair enough. I saw Trick or Treat shortly after it came out, and I was pretty dismissive of it whenever I initially watched it. I went into it knowing some of the backstory that you gave. It didn't get a theatrical release and was direct to video. And I'll just be honest, like there's a part of me that automatically discredits a film knowing that premise that it wasn't good enough pickup. There's always exceptions, don't get me wrong, but automatically I'm kind of going into it with a negative mindset. And so the fact that I was dismissive of it, it never really sunk into me, and I didn't really actively watch it the first time. So I didn't much care for it. When it comes to anthology movies, there's other movies that I would jump to first. Creepshow number
Creepshow,
one. Another anthology that I love to death is the Three Extremes, J horror.
Yeah,
it's absolutely one of the best, horror films that you'll ever see. Not on my list today, but worth mentioning. But I will say, I did revisit Trick or Treat here in the last 4 or 5 years, and I had an all new respect for it, and I do like it. It's just not on my list. So
I've got it queued up for this weekend because last time I saw Doug, I was like, "Is it cool? Like how horror stuff I can watch with my kid?" Because a lot of it does not lend itself to a child-friendly audience.
Sure,
but there's a handful of them out there that do, and Doug recommended that one, so we've got it queued up for this weekend.
I mean, there's some titties in it. That's about it. Like, if you should deal with like 30 seconds of titty, I think
they're looking at titties anyway. So
I could deal with a lot more than 30 seconds. I'm just saying.
That, to your point, yeah. I mean, as far as anthology movies, I mean, like if that's what I was, there's definitely better. Like you said Creepshow is a great one. I feel like the Twilight Zone, the movie, is one that people actually don't really talk about as much.
It's a sleeper.
It's fucking. I mean, I understand there's all this legal bullshit with it. I feel like it sucks that you can't mention it without mentioning that.
Right.
And can't separate the two things. And it sucks because I feel like because of that, the movie is often buried a lot. And up until HBO Max, I'd never seen it streamed. I've never seen, and it's hard to find a Blu-ray of it that's not insanely marked up or whatever. Like, it's just a hard movie to get your eyes on in today's, climate. And
any fans of Tales of the Hood?
Yeah.
Any fans for Tales from the Hood out there?
Yep. Tales from the Hood, really good.
Yeah.
God, man, there's so many. There are some really Cat's Eye. I actually quite like.
Yeah, Cat's Eye. I'm actually going to rewatch that because it's on HBO Max.
You know what? The last segment, you're going to probably... How long's it been since you've last seen it?
God, dude. Probably intermediate years. I don't know, like 12-ish, maybe. It's been a long time. 20 years.
You'll probably like it a lot more because you'll understand what those adult stories are a lot better. Like, I remember I used to watch it a lot as a kid, being like, he's on a bench. But when you get older, you're like, oh, this is pretty fucked up. Like this, like how we got to this place is not awesome. And then, of course, the general with the little Carlo Rambaldi fucking troll piece is really cool. Like, do keep an eye out though, because I heard recently that someone else was talking about Cat's Eye, and they mentioned that there's multiple, like, Drew Barrymore's in every segment and not just the first one, that last one.
Oh, I didn't realize that, I guess, but I was in a very...
apparently shows up as other characters throughout it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like very, very, like, almost hidden, like, blink and you'll miss it characters. But, yeah, I don't know. I need to throw that on again and see if that's the case. But, yeah, so that's Trick or Treat, man. I could go on for days. I love it. So
those were all 5 of your movies, right, Doug?
It was indeed all 5.
All right, so we knocked that Doug. I'll see you later, man. I'll see you later.
Adios, guys. It was good time.
I got $50 that says he's got Pumpkinhead on his list.
I bet Brandon does. Brandon,
Doug, I got your number.
Sir.
All right, so I'm gonna hit with the heavy hitter. Or I'm gonna go out with the heavy hitter. I picked a lot of mine based off of knowing the audience I was going to be around and the classics. I'm hitting on ones that really stick with me and that I can watch any day. So the first one I'm going to go with is Baskin. Baskin is definitely, it might as well, in my opinion, be a Hellraiser movie.
Absolutely.
It's a practical effect Indian horror that is very much based there's no like humor to it that I'm aware of, at least in my culture.
It's all straight meat and potatoes. Yeah, it's all straight meat and potatoes.
And it is straight up, I'm going to dig a knife into your eye and I'm not going to feel anything about it. And I'm going to make sure that I find the one that I need to carry on this message. That to me is very much it took a lot of things from Exorcist in the sense that it could not exist without the Exorcist. Hellraiser, the same thing. So practical effects, short and simple. It's a film that I can watch and create to. and put it on in the background.
Yeah, I've never seen this. I'm like looking at it online, and this looks pretty sick.
Yeah, it is.
It's dope.
And you think you'd dig it. It's a really good film.
Yeah,
cool.
At one point, that guy was being rumored to take on the Exorcist. Prior to these more recent developments of the Exorcist that are coming out now. Speaking of which, we're on, or not Exorcist, excuse me, Hellraiser. Speaking of which, we are on Hellraiser Eve, and so we're going to be having our David Buckner Hellraiser be coming out on Hulu tomorrow. So I'm pretty excited about that. Had to mention that tonight. Hell yeah.
For sure.
We were kind of discussing that before the pod and talking about some of the early reactions and some of the critics' reviews and stuff. Sounds like it's going to be pretty awesome. So
hell yeah.
Should be a treat.
Does anybody else have anything they want to add to Baskin before we move on to somebody else's pick?
That I want to watch it?
Yeah, I was going to say I've never seen it, so
I'm never watching it again, man. It
looks
it's excellent.
Brad, yeah, I'm gonna put that on my list. I got Sorcerer and Baskin. There we go.
Do not watch it with your daughter, by the way. Do not watch it.
No, hey, I can tell. That's one that's far beyond a lot of things that I would even. Yeah, I watched it by myself. Yeah. I watched it by myself because, like most things that stick out to me, especially Antichrist. We'll get around to that on a different pod, but. I was there by myself watching Antichrist, and that scared the fucking living shit out of me by myself.
I can see that. Yeah.
So next, I'm going to throw to Mr. Ridge here next to me. Ridge Jackson, what you got on your list, sir?
Okay, so I don't know, I guess I have a couple classics, but mine probably not very artistic and don't really have a whole lot to talk about them, but just mostly like what actually scared the shit out of me or what I have memories tied to.
Right.
I can watch them over and over again during the spooky season, but probably my favorite horror movie that I can watch over and over and over again is House of a Thousand Corpses.
Fuck yeah.
Because like, I remember all the hype and like I was very young, like, oh, Rob Zombie's going to make a movie and like it keeps getting shut down and all this and that, and like all the years of it coming out and all the rumors that would come along with that. Like, oh, they actually killed people, just all, what, I can't remember all what was going around that time, but that movie, I mean, it's a quick watch, but just so much of like
a lot happens. Moves quick.
Like
it's mark of a good horror movie for sure.
It's almost an anthology in a way, like the way that they break it up in segments,
right?
A little bit.
But I mean, like the first time, like when you see Tiny for the first time,
right?
That just freaked me out. I'd never seen. Him and because did he do anything before House of a Thousand Corpses? Or
he's been in several different things.
But
he had like a failed attempt at a wrestling career, I want to say.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But
you talking about Hills Have Eyes? The original?
No, House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah, no, but I think that actor, but never mind.
Yeah,
different
Matthew
guy.
McGorry, and then the other one is Michael Berryman.
Yeah, two different guys.
Gotcha.
I will never not be terrified by like that first like cut scene to Dr. Satan.
Yeah.
When I was a kid and seeing that,
I was going to say the Dr. Satan reveal
terrified me. I had I had a lot of trouble falling asleep that
night. So I have a special relationship with House of a Thousand Corpses. I think that was the first time I drove to Cape, and we went to the midnight showing because my dad and I were calling around to try and find places that would show it. It was the first time I drove to Cape myself, and my dad rode along with me so he could watch it. And we saw a midnight showing there, so I've got a lot of good memories tied to that. And we've watched it a million times with Brandon. And then Devil's Rejects, how can you not love that too? On top of it, those go together like, a fine wine and steak.
Now, speaking of zombie, has anybody seen the Monsters remake?
I haven't
yet. I did.
What do you think?
I'm going to be real with you guys. Like when they announced it, Rob hasn't been hitting for me, man, for a good while.
Either.
Yeah.
I actually really liked Lords of Salem, even though I feel like he fumbled the ending.
Yeah.
But everything else about that movie is like, I'd give it a good solid B, man. I feel like there's so much good in that movie. It just kind of falls apart there at the end, like he didn't know how to finish it, right?
Yeah.
But since then, like I was telling someone, like I listened to how I read an interview or listened to him talk about making 31, and he's like, I went in to pitch some stuff. They said they didn't want any of it. Do you have anything like the other stuff you've done? And he's like, I don't know. I just have this fucking movie, Pete's Halloween 31 Days, blah, blah, blah. And it's just how dispassionate he sounded talking about the film just turned me off so hard. Yeah. And then it came out, and I felt the same way. And then I did watch 3 from Hell. It took a long time before I got around to it, but I felt the same way. It felt like kind of like whatever Kevin Smith's going through, whatever this thing is, like whatever this is, like where you're just like you're doing it, but you just don't care. And it's a lot of, I mean, dude, like for myself, like just that's a long time to spend working on a project to not have passion for it.
Right. Yeah. Let somebody else make it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean?
When they announce Monsters, I'm like, why do we need this? Like, no one in the world needs this. This feels
Nobody's
like
calling for it. Right.
It's nostalgic only for him. I think that's the reason why.
Yeah.
I think it's only for him.
But he doesn't have the box office draw to do that by himself.
Right.
He just doesn't care, though. I don't think.
It's like for them to write the check to let him do it. Like he hasn't had a hit in 15 years.
Yeah.
And so for him to be like somehow like it got there, they made the movie, and I watched it. And I'm not fucking with you guys. I actually really enjoyed it.
Same.
Really?
I really enjoyed it. It's a fun fucking movie. Can't express like. Just go in expecting like just like a fun movie with like a little bit of like
camp.
Man, it's like there's not an edge
almost,
to be found. Yeah.
It's almost like a carbon copy the old show. Like a lot of it. Which I enjoyed. I used to watch the Monsters on fucking Nick at Night or whatever at my grandma's house and some shit.
TV Land.
TV Land. I watched a shitload of the Monsters and I was watching it and I'm like, okay, all right, I got it. And I was about to fall off in the first little bit, and then they started doing some of the casting reveals, and I was like, holy shit, wow, that's a great pick. Then I just got a little more invested in it, and then they come with the like the slapstick, goofy, silly comedy, and just the whole thing. I was like, wow, this is like a brand new Monsters property, and you almost feel like it even has the same people in it. Obviously, they're recast, from the 70s or 60s or whatever. But I'm with Doug. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would.
And I've heard a lot of people complain about how struggling to get through the first 20 minutes, but I actually really enjoyed the first 20 minutes. It's one of the subplots is like that. Why am I drawing a blank? Because I keep wanting to call her Sherry Moon, but I'm trying to remember the character's actual name.
Maybe that's why I've got fucking Richard on the brain.
It is exactly, I'm sure. But Lily Monster is looking for love, and like they introduce a Nosferatu kind of character, like Count Orlok, for her to go on dates with. And it's actually funny as fuck. Like the
he was killing me.
Yeah, and I'm just like, okay, I wanted to hate this, but I fucking can't. Like I'm having a good time. Like I don't know what to say. But I did inadvertently, Danny, have a Richard Brake weekend because I watched that and then watched Barbarian, and he's in both of those movies. I'm like, look at you go.
There you
go. Is Barbarian good?
Fucking outstanding, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, still gotta see that.
Huge Bill Skarsgård fan. I have another one of my picks actually.
Hell yeah!
Hey Doug, you and I need to have a conversation about Barbarian.
Okay, but I'll say this about it:
don't ruin it.
Don't watch any trailers if you can. Don't watch. Literally go in as blind as fucking possible because that movie does things that it's like. I'm just gonna say it's a fucking weird movie. It's very unconventional, but it's a lot of fun.
I'm about.
Yeah, it's weird.
All right, Josh. I think you're the only person who hasn't given their one of their picks so far, so we'll start with you, sir.
Well, again, like I'm similar to everybody else. I tried to pick stuff that was like made me think of my adolescent years. Anything that really stuck with me. Anything like Rich said that it made me have a hard time sleeping, or stuff that actually scared me, or something that I connected to my childhood. So that's kind of the direction I went. So my first one on the list is going to be the Blair Witch Project, and I apologize if that's on anybody else's list. But that one for me in particular was it was good for me. The reason why I liked it so much was like, I guess, obviously the point of view shooting of that was a very new take on horror at that time, in the late, what was that, 99 when that
first person point of view shooting.
And actually, I didn't even see it when it first came out. I think I didn't actually fully watch it until me and you lived together in an apartment. And I think it was actually around fall. And I had an old TV that had a VHS player, and he had it on VHS, and I popped it in, and we were hanging out, and he had got a phone call or text from his girlfriend or something. He's like, hey man, I'm going to run out, hang out with my girlfriend. You good to watch this by yourself? And I'm like, yeah, man, no problem. No problem at all. Go hang out with your girlfriend, have a good time. He leaves the house, dude.
He does this shit all the time. He
20
does this
minutes
shit all the
later,
time.
I'm
Look who's
texting.
fucking talking.
I'm texting.
What are you
And I'm
talking
like,
about?
Captain, leave you high and
This
dry. Puss.
motherfucker, he goes, hey, let me suggest to you a fucking movie. Hey, watch it by yourself.
So anyway, I start watching it. I get 20 minutes in. I'm like texting Barrett, like, "Hey man, what time you coming home, man? Like, where you guys at? You know, I mean, it scared me that." And we were like, what, 17, 18 at that time?
Yeah, I was probably 19. You're probably 17.
And I mean, it still got me. And it was a film from '99,
Yeah.
so I have a lot of respect for that. It was a whole new take on horror. I thought. I thought it was they took a chance with it and it paid off for them. More so in the long run, like with the cult following. I think there was like when it first came out, a lot of people were complaining about the point of view shooting and it was nauseating, and the audio was another complaint I remember a lot of hearing.
Yeah, but they paid like $5,000 to fucking make them.
Right, the
Yeah.
budget, and I mean, it's just
Speaking of the budget, you know, the production of it, you have to remember it's a movie that's a product of its time, but it's also very groundbreaking as well. So we've talked about
found
the first
footage
person
film.
point of view, shooting the found footage film. That started all that. You wouldn't have Paranormal Activity without this movie.
exactly.
And you have to also think that this movie in particular as well, like the marketing campaign leading up to it, like they did a special on Sci-Fi, a documentary that aired before it released, where they actually went around and talked to the townspeople about the Blair Witch of Salem, amped it up. Yeah, dude. Like they like
proper
really
marketing.
convinced people that this
Proper
was a real
marketing.
thing. Like it's of the best marketing that's ever been done for any horror movie ever.
and
Almost comparable as Smile.
And that's
Almost
another, like, I'm
comparable.
surprised by the Smile campaign for sure. Like you have to mention, like, kudos to them. I don't give a shit about watching that movie. By all accounts, it's
I'll
got
watch it.
decent reviews.
I'll watch it now.
But the marketing campaign makes me want to watch it.
Fuck yeah.
Just
Well,
the
and-
marketing
I didn't want to
campaign.
watch that whenever I saw the previews, and then I saw the preview, or I saw all that, and I was like, "Oh, I'm down."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Sign
it
me
looked
up.
Do you remember the name of that documentary? Because I remember what you're talking about.
oh,
It
let
was
me
like,
look it up.
It was like a question or something. It was like, you know, who is, what is. It was,
Yeah,
something
I
that was
can't
made up-
remember.
and it was made of like alt outtakes and like deleted scenes and like
Yes.
extra shit from the film.
What he's referring
like,
to
recut,
actually,
yeah.
I had a box set that I got from the Dollar Tree, a VHS box set that had Blair Witch, it had the documentary, and it had Blair Witch 2 in it, which is horrific. Don't even waste
Awful.
your time with that. That's
Awful.
bad. Then they tried to do a cinematic take for the sequel, and it's bad. But kind of going back to my argument earlier, kind of like it's such
Could be
a product
worse.
of its time. Like whenever they came out to accept the MTV Movie Awards, I remember this was a big thing too. The characters that died in the film, where everybody thought this was real and that sort of thing, came out to accept the award. So that was like a huge like groundbreaker for everybody. Like everybody's like, "Oh fuck, they aren't actually dead! Like they're getting me
We were
awards."
stupid. We thought this was real.
Right? Like they actually duped people
Well,
at this time.
They did a similar thing with Cannibal Holocaust, and the director
Right,
ended
yes.
up facing charges
Yeah.
for it. And I
Yes.
feel like they did take a little bit from the playbook of that, but I also
Sure.
don't know how much is the case because it's a pretty obscure movie, and they were pretty young. When
Yeah. Did they watch that before? Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's like
Yeah.
Cannibal Holocaust didn't come on radar as a film lover until the internet, really.
You got to talk about
Yeah.
accessibility too. Like in
Yeah.
'99 is probably hard. And '99 is when that came out, so it's probably shot 97, 98. It was a low, like we talked about, low budget film. These guys did it themselves essentially, and forever remembered for it. But yeah, I respect that pick big time. Like I was hoping somebody'd have it on their list today.
Well, and I think the simplicity of it and it still being scary was what was so great about it. Like, I'm not, the ending, I'm not going to ruin it in case anybody hasn't seen it out there that's listening, but, it was just so simple but it was still, you know what I mean? It still was scary. So that's
Earth shattering. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I
Also,
still have
Josh,
to have
that format's like, I mean, it's like I'm not one of these like guys that's like, oh, VHS, man, got it. But if you were to say, how do you want to watch Blair Witch? A fucking pristine 4K digital projection in a movie theater, or on a shitty VHS TV, like VHS, like VCR.
It was
on a
built
fucking,
in,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, like a fucking 22-inch TV that's like
Yeah.
going out. Picking the TV, man.
You gotta have a little grandma ash on the heads of the tape in there.
Yeah.
Just lodged up in there.
That movie needs that. It doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be grimy.
So what's your next one, Bear?
My next one I'm gonna call out right now is Videodrome. David Cronenberg, one of my all-time, if not my all-time favorite director.
Still not seen this one.
Videodrome is excellent, and I could give you a million reasons why. I'm just going to kind of stick it to the bullet points. It has things that I love about movies in general, and that are kind of staples of David Cronenberg in particular. So it's got a lot of elements of body horror. What is really cool about it's got elements of sci-fi in it, future dystopian societies. You know, those are all themes that I like in movies. Typically, it's got James Woods stars as the title character, who's a fucking nutter and a great actor. But present day
Fucking
neocon,
piece of shit.
so present day
Ooh, he's
neocon,
candy.
of course. Yeah, James Woods School for Family Guy watchers. Debbie Harry, who is an all-time celebrity crush for me. She's an absolute smoke show, and she's hot as hell in this. Sexy as fuck.
I love you, but I don't get that. I don't get.
It's that
dude,
vintage
Blondie?
thing, you know what I mean?
Blondie, dude, come on.
Oh, wait a second,
man.
Blonde. Wait a second.
Yes,
Let me look
Debbie
at.
Harry from Blondie. Yes.
Fucking eat my asshole. Just because I'm not wanting to have sex with the same people you want to.
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
How dare you?
This was a huge box office flop. I think that they ended up making like 2.1 million.
Damn.
At the box, and the film's budget was like 6.1 or 5.9, somewhere in that range. So it was a flop.
They lost some money.
Yeah,
it is a
I'm
movie-
not into her.
It is a movie that has gained cult notoriety over the years, and
Sorry, but you're wrong, Brandon.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't care.
It's a Criterion Collection. I've got that. I haven't gotten to watch it yet. My wife got it for me actually last Christmas, UHD. So, and I finally got a PS5. So I'm gonna give it that treatment. Watch here eventually in this spooky season. But yeah, so David Cronenberg. If you haven't checked out any of his movies, like I don't want to tell you any one specific to start with because I feel like they're all great in varying ways. But Videodrome's not a bad way to start out if you haven't.
I feel
seen
like
any David Cronenberg
Videodrome
movies.
is a good one for if someone just doesn't know what to expect from Cronenberg. That's definitely a good way to start because like if that movie's too weird for you, then
I
you're
agree.
probably going to be good to go not to finish anything else.
Right.
Yeah, because Naked Lunch and everything else. I think it's a good starter step. I'll definitely back you up on that because the vagina, chest cavity, and the pulsing cassette tape.
Yes.
They're very. Those are very standout. Those are very standout things in that film. Yeah, and the handgun, which reminds me a lot of like fucking any of like the crazy Maniac Cops or like or one of mine that I'm gonna bring up soon. It reminds this insane amount, but it's lit by this amazing drama thriller that is just
the
so
story's
enticing.
still there. Yeah, the story's still there for sure. And
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
got
I would
twists.
say it's this or Scanners. Like if you're just trying to be like entry level
Absolutely.
Cronenberg, like because I feel like Dead Zone is an absolutely killer movie, but it's not typical of what Cronenberg does.
No, it's very mild for it.
Yeah, I mean it's like a fucking great movie. I love it. But
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like I feel like Videodrome. Like if you can take that, then bring on Shivers and The Brood and Rabid. Like bring it.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen
you,
Crimes of the Future recently, that's a good
Yeah,
one.
that's what I was gonna say. I was
still
going to
haven't
mention
watched
Crimes
that.
of the Future.
Hell yeah. I liked
Also,
it except for
I'm eating, guys,
minus
so-
the 12-year-old boy Wang in it. I could have done without that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was unnecessary. But I'm going to hand it off to you, Danny. What do you got next on your list?
Oh shit! Let's take a look here. You know what? I've got three that I think that nobody's really seen, so I'm gonna hold off on those. I do have X, directed by T. West, came out this year, 2022.
Okay.
Is it T. West or Ty West?
Ty West.
Ty West.
I think it's
Okay,
Ty
I was
West,
like,
yeah.
I've heard both, but it always reads to me like T. So okay, Ty West. Really liked it. I'm looking forward to watching Pearl. Haven't seen it yet,
Me
so
too.
no spoilers if you guys have already caught that. I like anything that can just take something as simple as like somebody walking up to a door and make it a stressful situation for me.
Yeah.
He does. Ty West has this really great way of like just building thematic tension where honestly, like if somebody farted, it would scare the shit out of me.
Right.
Because
House of the Devil.
you're just waiting for that other foot to drop. and it being about the like the boom of the pornography industry, industry moving to VHS in home, because he's like, oh, it's not going to be just for perverts anymore. People can enjoy pornography in the comfort of their own home. So that storyline of those people setting off to make that porno film, it already, you've kind of got one foot in this like
taboo
kind of taboo territory. Exactly. And he does it's just a really fucking fun movie. The kills in it are so much fun.
Yeah, Ty West is a director that gets the most out of the least. That's something I respect a lot about him. Is he's very efficient with his filmmaking and work. Like The Sacrament I think is one of the most underrated movies that's out there. It's basically a Jim Jones unofficial biopic.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
I fucking love The Sacrament.
I don't think that there's anything that Ty West that I haven't liked ever since House of the Devil. Me and Barrett, I know
Didn't
for a
he do
fact.
the Cabin Fever sequel? I know he was at least acted in it and may have written the script. But I think he was in Cabin Fever too.
He may have helped out with it. But, I mean, he had that little sputter, too, where he had that little moment in time where he didn't exist in the film world. But
Innkeepers is good.
Innkeepers is fantastic.
I actually liked it more than House of the Devil, personally. Like,
I
felt like it had its own unique charm to it.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
But good pick.
Pat Healy, baby.
Yes,
and I'll absolutely.
Also add that I think that, mileage may vary on his different movies, but I do think X is probably his best written screenplay, period.
Oh, for sure.
It's just, you care so much more about so many characters as so much more dynamic. And, I always pitch it as Boogie Nights meets Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Ooh, that's good.
It's actually a really
for sure is. It's spot on. Yeah. And Brittany Snow, I mean, that's
all around killer.
That's a crush for me since I was a kid.
Doug, what you got next on your list, sir?
Let's see. Okay. So, man, I was putting this list together. I want a good mix of it's favorites, man. What wowed me? What was something that's I felt revolutionized the moment, and I really tried to separate I really tried to think about that first impression. You know what I mean? A lot.
Yeah, definitely.
And not let years of internet slogging on shit or it being ripped off and copied to death affect my impression of the first film.
Right.
That film at the time I saw it. But I have to say, at the time I saw this movie, I really didn't think as an adult anything would ever actually scare me again. Give you goosebumps or creep you out. You know what I mean? Really, not just scare you, but to get the old fashioned fucking haunted house feeling back. Yeah. And for me, when I saw The Conjuring, that did that for me. It fucking rocked me when I saw it. I mean, I'd seen Insidious and loved it, but it seemed like he took that and was like, okay, now hold my beer. I'm going off the mix. It's going to really fuck you up. And it's essentially, to me, a absolute pitch perfect horror film. I feel like in the last 40 years, I would say 30 years. In the last 30 years, there's few films that can go toe for toe and craft the way this one does. But I will say I do have one bitch about it, and it's I feel had you just excised that second Annabelle subplot, later on in the movie when they got to race home and fuck with Annabelle and blah, that's clear. That just reeks to me of studio notes of hey, Annabelle's fucking hitting really hard in the fucking demographic. We get more Annabelle. That's what it reeks, because that's what happened with The Nun too, and that became very transparent as that whole world kept pushing out. Was how much of it was the studios hey, we need more marketable shit. And that comes back to Annabelle to me, to being oh, Annabelle must have tested really good, so they're going to add an extra scene later, even though it completely fucking doesn't fit in the movie at all.
Yeah, useless, right?
But if that one scene was cut, that whole sequence was cut out of the film, you probably wouldn't even notice it's missing.
Right.
Yeah.
And it would make the movie infinitely better. And that's literally the only bitch I have about otherwise a perfect movie.
No, I think it's a very respectable pick, and it's a very solid horror movie with little complaints, a little bit more modern in selection. I'm liking that we're getting some more modern movies too. So, Brayden, what you got next?
All right, so I'm gonna go for the rootin' tootin', a little bit different. These are going to be for the one. These are going to be combined, essentially. It might as well be a TV show, but I'm going with Wolf Cop. Wolf Cop is a fantastic freaking flick to watch. From the cheesy dick jokes to the fart jokes to the woman who is a Satanist having sex with a werewolf in the middle of a jail cell. It is legit motherfucking entertaining horror, and I love it.
Danny, did you guys cover Wolf Cop on your show? It seems like something that's right for the picking for you.
Yeah, we have Wolf Cop yet, but I have like 6 different running lists at all times of stuff that I would like to cover, and one of those lists does have Wolf Cop on it.
Yeah.
It is a movie that is near and dear to me. I think it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
It's
It's
right in the pocket of, like, you know what Doug said, fucking hold my beer while we're just going to make a movie about a werewolf cop, and he's fucking, and then he's also a werewolf. You know what I mean? It is endlessly charming.
Yeah.
Love
Absolutely. Anybody else got anything to add to the Wolf Cop discussion before we move on to the next pick for Rich?
Just if you haven't seen that movie, guys, like, it's a total fucking treat for the audience. It's definitely like one of those movies that's just a fucking good time. It's hard to hate it. It's like to me, it's like going to see a fucking 70s rock cover band that just kills it, but also is completely self-aware.
That's a very good analogy. Very good. For sure. Rich, what you got next on your list? Sir?
All right, my next one has to be Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Fuck yeah.
The original.
The original.
Okay.
Yeah, not the 5 remakes.
Yeah. Like,
I was gonna say which one.
Like, anytime I watch that movie, it's just like the feel of it's so grimy. Like, I feel like I need to take a shower after it, and I love.
Yeah, they have that, like, I don't know, like they filmed that so differently than how so many other films were. Like, I don't know how I'm trying to say it. I don't know if it's the grain or, like, you know.
It certainly is, yeah, the film treatment.
I get what you're saying. You almost feel like you need to wash your hands after you handle it. You know what I mean?
Doug, do you recall what that was shot in millimeter-wise?
I shot in 16 millimeter.
That's what I thought, 16.
So, yeah, so it gives it that beautiful feel, yeah.
It's like Super 16. So it's actually it was like a kit that student filmmakers would use when they're starting.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tobe Hooper obviously went on to do things like The Poltergeist too. He's a very good director, but like, that is a fantastic horror movie. And honestly, like, there's other Texas Chainsaw submissions that have their moments, if you will. Like the Dennis Hopper one, I enjoyed.
Oh yeah,
just for his acting alone.
Too.
Yeah, and,
what was
Matthew McConaughey? Yeah,
2 is such a fucking. It's just a blast because it's like.
Right.
I once described that movie because Hopper is so unhinged in that movie that to me it's like the closest thing to cocaine ever captured on film.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
It's just.
I mean, it's Dennis Hopper. He's probably on cocaine. So
it is literally fucking mad. I just actually ordered the Vinegar Syndrome 4K they're doing of it.
Hell yes.
I worship. I love that movie.
Hell yeah.
To me, it's like it's examples. Is the first movie a better movie? Yes, but is it as entertaining as 2? That's a dilemma. But to that point, Ridge, Texas Chainsaw is on my honorable mentions. Couple weird details about that. Daniel Pearl, who shot that movie, is actually one of the only DPs to come back and shoot the remake of his own movie.
Wow.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's
and
pretty cool.
He actually, to get the job, like Michael Bay, he worked for Michael Bay through the 80s and 90s doing commercials and music videos, so they had a relationship.
Yeah.
But when they went to do that remake, Bay wouldn't hire him and acted like he didn't even know who he was for some reason. And he's like, hey, Bay would like to see your reels, what they told him. And he's like, just sent them a copy of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah. Now,
That's awesome.
that's the one that with Jessica Biel that Bay did, right?
Yep. And
Yeah.
But he also went on to, if you could look at Daniel Pearl's credits, he also became like one of the like in-demand music video cinematographers. Like, he still is. He's actually responsible for like all those Guns N' Roses videos you love. And like basically like that really fucking hot like Madonna front light like beauty looking shit. He is who created that as well. Like that look that you see in all these music videos where like the singers are right up in the camera. Like he's the dude who defined that look. But yeah, he's just a fucking icon. But yeah, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, bouncing on that, it's a movie that it's just a movie that's like, I don't know it could ever be made without the circumstances it was made with under. I've been down to the little gas station in Texas that they filmed at, but they also have the band from that movie in the background. And you can go back and look at it and dig around and do all this shit and like check it out. It's surreal to look at. And it's such a fascination to me because it's just such a weird movie that no one expected it to do what it did or what it became.
Right.
Like they just went out to make it because they felt the need to make it. And there's so much to be said about it. And like how, it's crazy. It has this, like grindhouse legacy when there's almost no blood with him. There's almost no blood in the movie.
Yeah.
It's almost all like you're like you imagining it.
It's hard to pull off like broad daylight, 2:30 in the afternoon,
absolutely.
on just a beautiful day in a field.
Yes.
And it accomplishes it. Yeah, it's cool.
You're exactly correct. That's a very good point,
And
Danny.
I talked a lot with actually I think I just went and talked about this with Andy here not so long ago, where I'd always seen that movie and the transfers always sucked. They always looked really gritty and really grimy. When they finally remastered the 40th anniversary Blu-ray, that was probably the first time I ever saw that movie, how it was actually shot. And it's just, honestly, God, gorgeous. Like you said, just broad daylight, the skies are blue. That makes it even scarier to me to know that like this could be just any perfect day. It doesn't have to be spooky or heightened.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
this could be Tuesday in the summer.
Yeah, this shit takes place on like a river day. And like a day, throw a couple beers in the cooler and go stick your feet in the water.
Absolutely, yeah. And it definitely starts out with that party vibe, the road trip, kind of road story sort of thing, and the story takes a turn. So I always like movies that kind of throw off your fucking, expectation equilibrium, if you will.
Yeah.
And Texas Chainsaw definitely starts, especially you got to think about the time that it came out too. People first watching it, going in a little bit blindly. It's definitely one of those movies that benefited by a word of mouth and cult following, and reason it grew to the heights that it did. Josh, what's next on your list?
All right, now don't throw stones at me here on this one, guys. This one is definitely does have a cult following.
You don't got to keep apologizing.
I know, but this one you guys are probably gonna shit on, but it's okay. It's okay. I love it.
Zombies, monsters.
No, it's Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow, and
hell no. Dude, that's good. I just rewatched that not too long ago.
I don't mind that. Yeah,
it's such a beautiful, gothic-y, almost theater-esque, just well-written story. I like the almost black and white feel to it, but then like when you get to the blood and the guts and the glory, it's really bright and in your face and
surreal.
Yeah, it's just it just feels like classic cinema to me, I guess. Almost.
Well, and it's his Tim Burton.
Yeah, full
Headless
awesome
Horseman,
cast.
baby.
Christina Ricci, Johnny Depp, Christopher Walken. I mean, you're talking about some really big names in cinema. So that one.
When you got to think too. I mean, that led him to Sweeney Todd, which was gorier.
Beautiful movie. Yep.
It was the darker version of Tim Burton that involved blood.
Right. That's kind of got. I think that kind of got him, like you said, it kind of opened the doorway for stuff like Sweeney Todd and stuff like that.
Especially for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a respectable submission for sure.
Yeah. And like I said, October comes around. It's one that me and my wife always want to watch. Always want to have the kids watch with us. It's just
it's one that you can.
Classic for me.
Does anybody ever remember as a kid watching the cartoon version of Ichabod Crane?
Oh yeah,
the Disney fucking thing. And I used to be terrified as fuck as a kid. Like, what the fuck?
McDonald's.
What is this shit?
Did a limited time toys of that, and if you remember correctly, the Headless Horseman was like really cartoony, and he had like a purple cape, and like like on the inside it was yellow glowing. It wasn't like blood and guts on his neck; it was like yellow glowing, and he had the pumpkin. That was awesome.
Dude had the most pronounced Adam's apple.
Oh my god! Yeah, he looks like a crane with an Adam's apple for sure.
Yeah,
nose was pronounced.
So next on my
Sorry, just Josh. I was going to say, just the production design of that movie is so fucking gorgeous.
Yeah,
it
is.
It's
a beautiful
such
film.
A beautiful looking movie front to back. But anyway, sorry.
Absolutely.
No, absolutely, I agree.
Next on my list is going to be in the sake of going back to some of the more modern picks that Danny and Doug had on their last picks. Get Out. I think Get Out is arguably of the best movies ever made. Like, in my opinion, like it's definitely in that conversation for me now in my top 10. When anybody ever asked me about my favorite movies, Get Out.
In fact, I'm covering Get Out tomorrow. Actually,
Hell
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. So look forward to that.
Thank you. I
episode
like that.
drop.
I like that group. Hell yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
You need a little bit more of that on your podcast. Yeah, we'll give you some sound bites. But yeah, Get Out. Jordan Peele, of course.
Right.
So I have to kind of lay the groundwork here. Of course, Jordan Peele was a comedic actor for years. Started on Mad TV specifically.
He was.
I had the Key and P show. Yeah, the
I know,
the
I'm
second
joking.
iteration of Mad TV. Then he had the Key and P
Dubstep
show, excuse me, of course. And then this came around, and everybody saw that Jordan Peele was going to start doing movies. He was going to do like kind of a mystery box horror, is kind of how it was presented to start with. And really, all of his movies are like that, all the way up through the marketing campaigns until they're released. Largely, doesn't reveal too much about what it's about or anything. There's a synopsis, but it's a loose synopsis that's put out. What you have to do with any movie release. But Get Out, there was so much mystery surrounding it. People were wondering, what it would ultimately be about, how good Jordan Peele would do in his, initial ability or his initial run with any studio with a feature film, and getting the budget that he was getting as well. So there was just a lot of uncertainty going into the movie for a lot of folks. And immediately it was a grand slam. The acting performances are top notch, even went with obscure actors in many respects. He's got Caleb Landry Jones, who I like from Antiviral, if you've ever seen that, which David Krautenberg's son directed, Brandon Krautenberg. But Antiviral, I think, is a sleeper pick too. But Caleb Landry Jones is the star character of that. He plays the brother in this. He's a good character actor in this, the jiu-jitsu obsessed brother. And Daniel Kaluuya, who's starting to be one of the best actors. In fact, Jordan Peele named him as his De Niro, if you will. So he's been in a couple of films with him now.
He's amazing.
Lakeith Lee Stanfield, who's one of my favorite actors, hands down. Judah and the Black Messiah is also in that, which Daniel's in that too.
Fuck yeah.
Lakeith's also in Sorry to Bother You, which I think is one of the best kind of dark comedy movies that's come out.
Lakeith, man.
Fucking love that movie.
Lakeith is fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah, Lakeith's a great actor. And you can't go wrong with Lakeith as well, but he has just kind of a bit part in it as well. Catherine Kinnear is one of my all-time favorite actresses. She plays the mother in this movie. Her performance is stellar.
She can come off as a complete bitch, man.
She can play any character, dude. She starts out, you think she's going to be a sympathetic character that she's going to end up being on the side, but turns out she's in on it as well, and she's just as fucked up as the rest of them.
I think she's more fucked up in this film. Like,
yeah,
fuck me. Whenever the moment that happens, fuck.
Did you guys watch that Flavor on Netflix? She's in that.
No, I haven't.
No, nobody. All right, she's very, very fucking sinister in it. And when I'd watched it, it was something my old lady was into, and I was like, yeah, I just got sucked into it. And she's super sinister in it, and I was like, man, I have seen her fucking do this somewhere before. And it was definitely Get Out, but she's way more upfront about her malicious intent. You know what I mean? It's a cool role for her.
Yeah, awesome. and Get Out deals with a lot of different themes, but for me to put it the most simplistic way in the sake of the show and its dark comedy that we implement sometimes around here, of course, it's all about white people exploiting black people for their resources. So
when did that happen?
Oh, when? Ever? So do we need to go through a history lesson?
Okay. Everybody that's watching right now, understand that I'm performing a thing called
satire.
Sarcasm and satire.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's a fantastic movie. And the reason that I love it too, this is my other big point and takeaway, is it is all its own thing, but while acknowledging and giving allegiance to films of old, filmmakers of old. There's so many nods to Hitchcock, to Kubrick, to Polanski, older filmmakers throughout that movie as well. So many Easter eggs. I mean, we could just do an episode on Get Out in and of itself, but Get Out, perfect film, zero critique. I really couldn't bring any better film to the table for the discussion.
Gives nods to non-controversial people like Polanski.
Yeah,
absolutely. Who's fucking little girls. No big deal.
Retiring after his next movie.
Which, by the way, Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's both of them, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
they're touch little girls.
Same issues. Same issues, for sure. So.
Yeah, I agree, Barrett.
I agree. He touched other people.
All right. Danny, would you like to give your next submission?
Yeah, you know what? I would. I'm going to take a minute to tell Doug to go fuck himself, because I bet he hasn't watched this yet. I've only told him to, I don't know, probably a dozen times. I think I texted you one night, and I was like, hey, man, if you're surfing looking for something to watch right now, this is your sign. That's right. Bloody Hell. It is directed by Alistair Grierson. Came out in 2020, right at fucking peak pandemic. And it's a, I think it's listed as a horror thriller. And this movie has got so much fucking shit going on per minute. It's fucking bonkers. And the first time I watched it, I think we just like casually rented it at Redbox. And this was like at the point where you like fucking like pandemic had just hit you, like Lysol the fucking Redbox before you go up to rent a movie. You know what I'm talking about?
Touching it with your elbow.
Yeah.
Right. And we rented this movie, and I was like, I don't know, just fucking being a lazy, piece of shit, staying home, haven't showered in fucking 4 days. Let's watch this fucking movie. And man, I like started the film laying down on the couch. 10 minutes into it, I'm up, hands on my knees, edge of my fucking seat, like, holy fucking shit, like, where did this come from? And I don't know if it even got a theatrical release in the US. It is fucking just absolutely outstanding, and I still cannot just get a Blu-ray of it. It's unreal, and I want everybody to watch it and be like, holy shit, how did we all miss this?
I haven't seen it.
You can rent it on Prime, but I'm telling you, if you can find it and purchase it, it's worth a purchase, because I've watched it like 12 times. It's fucking outstanding.
Oh shit.
Damn.
Nice.
It is so much fun, man. The cast is fucking amazing. The production value, it looks fucking great. And the story and the way that it's directed, it's unlike anything else I've seen in another movie, and I watch a lot of fucking movies. I don't know that I've seen as many as Doug or the same breadth as Doug has, but I watch a lot of fucking movies, and it's just got something different what it is, but God, it's outstanding.
Yeah, I really can't offer much to it because I haven't seen it, and
yeah,
it sounds like the rest of us haven't either. So
and Doug clearly hasn't watched it, which is the reason why he's a piece of shit and left early.
Super offensive. So here's the pitch. This is like what you would see on the back of the DVD box. A guy, an ex-soldier, I think he's a Marine or whatever. He's in the bank. People come in to rob the bank. He finds a gun in his lap, effectively, from another bank goer, and he decides to stop the robbery. He goes to prison, ultimately, because of murdering people in a bank. And then when he gets out, he decides he's going to go to Finland, but he is captured on his way to Finland, and then it's a horror film.
Oh, okay.
It's
I can't say I've seen any movie like that with that premise.
Dude, it's outstanding. There's cool. They do a bit where it's like him. He, how you talk to yourself. Well, they show it in this where there's two of him on screen, but one of them is like his inner monologue.
Right. It's almost like a Smeagol Gollum type interaction.
Exactly. Yeah, they do it throughout the film, and it's done in a really brilliant way. And I just I wish all you guys would watch it. Please watch it if you can.
I definitely
I will.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We're better than Doug. We're better than Doug, and would actually
I'll watch it before Doug.
Look, take his opinion over the director, Doug Wicker. Yes, who doesn't let his friend into his own fucking film, who he's done multiple podcasts with, and also, has recommended movies to. No big deal. Let's move on to piece of shit Doug's pick.
Serve it out, Doug.
I don't know if I got through. That's on. Just got out of the shutter, Danny. I'll watch it. All right. Let's see.
Do it.
My next one is okay. Next up for me is like I said, favorite horror films, man. Like it's so tough. Like I said, so many, and I do this exercise sometimes where it's like I'll come back to revisit something, say like the first Terminator, and I'll do my best to like unpack all the pop culture shit we've put on that.
Sure.
Like, like all the fucking toys and comic books and movies and sequels and T-shirts and everyone quoting it. And I try to watch, like, just reset to zero and watch something again with fresh eyes. I've never seen it. And for me, every time I've done that multiple times with Halloween, and it bringing it back to like what that movie is meant to be, not the fucking, endless supernatural killer, not the Jamie Lee Curtis subplot with being the sister, with like none of the baggage. That movie is absolutely terrifying at its core. Because, at the end of the day, if you take it back to what he is just this maniac, this completely mentally ill person that you can't understand their motives for what they do.
Absolutely.
To me, it's like if there's one thing that the 2018 like Legacy sequel did that I think was like absolutely fucking nailed that character better than any of the sequels ever did. Is that moment, the one take, tracking him all down the street during Halloween. He goes in and out of the house. He kills that old lady, passes a baby, walks out on the street, looks at a lady dressed as a nurse, moves on. To me, that Warner said that encapsulated how much the understanding of the character was there. Yeah. Because it's always been about, you don't understand his motive. You don't understand his decision.
The mental illness aspect of his character.
The best way I've ever been able to describe Myers as as a force of nature is he's like a shark. You just don't understand if he's going to bite or not.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
That to me makes him so
he's a
much
Dahmer
more
character.
He's a primal predator. I mean, that's just
exactly. And there's things about him that they also got right in that 2018, which is the weird sense of humor that he occasionally displays, like putting on the ghost outfit or leaving the pumpkin, like in, with the bodies and just crazy shit like that. You're just like, what is it's so irrational. It makes no sense.
Because he's trapped in a child mind frame still yet to some extent. He's still trapped in a child life.
I almost think he thought it was funny whenever you dropped the teeth in front of that chick's stall.
Yeah, 100%.
I think he thought that was...
It was a game.
Yeah.
Toying with his prey.
That's what he gets off on.
From us as the audience and her POV, it's absolutely fucking terrifying. But you're right, Brandon. From Michael Myers' point of view, it was probably just another gag, like another opportunity to fuck with someone. So in a lot of ways, while the movie's called Halloween, it does play on that trick-or-treat theme so well because it's either going to go very badly for you or you might just walk away not even knowing what you just missed. But I feel like, when you watch Assault on Precinct 13 and then you come to Halloween and then you go on to his Carpenter's other films, there's something about Halloween that's so much more DIY and leaner and meaner, and it's definitely a movie with a point to prove.
Yeah,
and
it can happen. It can happen.
And there's influences at the time that have been ripped off ad nauseum, like ripping off Peeping Tom for the POV shots, and little things like that. That like Peeping Tom killed the director's career. Like he made that film and it was just done. He was buried. Right. But to know that like it influenced Scorsese and influenced Carpenter, and that like POV shot sequence is now used so much, that like creepy voyeuristic quality.
Yep.
And to just see that like through every frame of Halloween, like if you just overlook the little things, like in my opinion, some of the dialogue's a little clumsy, some of it's but some of it's so good. And to me, it's like it's just one of those movies. It's like you could talk about ad nauseum, and I know that it's like it has been. But I think that the reason why is because it's just one of those that translates, just general interest. Like common people love this movie for a reason. And I think with that said, like, it's like if you take and throw out all the shit, Halloween Tier, H2O, all this, just throw it all fucking out and you look at just that movie. It's just
well,
so
it's the same thing with Friday the 13th too. I want to say that little moment whenever he's walking through the house in the 2018, he looks over at that baby that's in a crib. I like to think of that as the nod towards, which everybody thought was a nod towards him with the baby in the crib originally, and then his sister in the remake with Rob Zombie looking at the baby in the crib. So I mean, yeah, it's one of those movies that's top 5 all time for me horror wise, and that's the one I gravitate towards. Where Barrett gravitates toward Freddy Krueger. It's definitely my more supreme film, but yeah, I love it, man. Love it.
It's just such a masterpiece of a movie, and I don't throw that around lightly. I mean, at that time, Steadicams had only been around. Steadicams had only been around for 3 or 4 years, and were only being used on the biggest movies. And the fact that John Carpenter, was like, no, we need this because we need the movie to just move. We need it to feel like it's like, there's a constant momentum and pushing forward. And it's just, I don't know. It's there's a lot to say. Like I said, it's my favorite of that whole series.
Yeah.
Of that cluster of iconic horror films, I feel like it's the one. I often say Texas Chainsaw really helped define what, became the slasher genre. But I think Halloween definitely put the button on what it became.
Yeah, for sure. Often duplicated, but never, lived up to the hype.
Right.
It said several films after that tried it. There's it's one of those iconic pieces of cinema that has very routinely been replicated, but never duplicated, I guess is what I was trying to say. Like the people couldn't do that same success while they tried to. There's so many films that came out that were inspired by that following. And even the 70s and 80s slasher genre, and specifically just got so heavy, like especially with direct to VHS releases and video releases and stuff like that over the years. They followed the Halloween format. A lot of films did. And Halloween definitely set the bar. I don't think I could add any more to it other than that. So let's go to your next pick, Brandon.
All right, so this one's a more very artistic approach, very much art house. I think it's something that me and Doug watched together at Fantastic Fest. A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night is by far the score to that film, and a very fresh take. I've always been fascinated by vampires, but I hate how they turn vampires into something kind of that they're not, and try and overexploit certain things, like that they're just out for blood. But the very romantic side of things, that's something that I got from that film. And I think the music score especially speaks for itself. In the moment, whenever she's listening to a record while she's sitting on the bed, I was like, the moment that they played that part, I was like, I'm in. She's kind of nodding to it, unless I'm remembering wrong wrong, but it's so gorgeous, and it's all in black and white. It's all kind of a mystery. Yes. I believe it was directed by an Iranian woman.
Yes.
Gorgeous. She later goes on to make a cannibal movie with Jason Momoa, which I was completely confused by, and Jim Carrey.
Wow.
But understandable, right? So that you would bounce off of these crazy ideas. But that to me was fantastic.
Yeah, Girl Walks Alone at Home at Night. I recently watched. I think it was during the pandemic, because it was one of those movies I hadn't gotten around to, and I had a list of movies I wanted to watch. Coincidentally, John Carpenter's Vampires was on that list. I watched it about the same time. I also watched Martin. There's some other movies that I knocked out right there in a row. But, to your point, what's really actually great, I'm going to expound upon this. You mentioned the sequence where she's listening to music. There's if I remember correctly, there's a wardrobe scene in there where she's putting on clothes, trying to make fun of a mirror and stuff. She is a vampire. She's trying to be essentially assimilate herself to being a normal human. And it's an aspect of vampire films that they don't always address. The humanity aspect of things. There's a lot of vampire movies out there. I feel like it's a genre of horror that has very few successes. You know, Interview with the Vampire is fantastic. A lot of people obviously can't go without mentioning Lost Boys. You know, but there's only a few good ones. You know,
Blade Trinity, just spitballing.
Hell yeah!
I don't have anything against the Blade movies, honestly.
I have a little bit something against Blade Trinity, but
Trinity's the worst one.
It is definitely the worst one, but it is like entertainingly bad. I think, in my opinion. Yeah. And the Ryan Reynolds dialogue alone, plus Triple H, WWE's Triple H is in it.
Oh my god!
Come on.
The first WWE film.
Not the first, but it's in there.
It should have been.
Set the bar. But yeah, girl, that's a great pick. Brandon, anybody else have anything else to add to that before we move on to the next selection? All right, Bridge, what you got?
My next pick would be, I guess it's a horror movie, but Cabin Fever. I love that movie.
Oh, that's for
my god, yeah.
Like the perfect like party movie. You don't really know what's going on.
Party gone bad.
Of it, and then all of like the strange humor in it. I love. Like Pancakes Kid. Like
we get to see John from Boy Meets Eats World fucking die.
Yeah.
So we get to see that motherfucker die.
Oh, it's an amazing feel good movie. Like I don't know, and then
it's an amazing feel good movie.
I don't know. It makes me feel good.
The summer.
That's how it is. I love watching
all the kids are saying it's the rain.
Hot girl summer.
Yeah.
Hot girl summer.
You can twerk to it.
I mean,
yeah, you literally can in meat flaps. Yeah, for sure.
No, but I love that movie. It's at least in my top 10.
Eli Roth, right?
Yeah, Eli Roth. And I don't know too much about it. I
love me, Eli.
I think we actually went to Blockbuster and rented that and had a good time. I don't know.
Hell yeah.
Love it.
Okay.
What's he saying that? He's like, I'm the party dude.
I'm the party dude. Just go back inside and have a couple 40s. Like, amazing. Yeah. And I used to get a lot of shit back in the day because I looked like that cop. I can't remember his name.
No.
Like, because I couldn't grow.
Is that his last name? Giuseppe. It's Giuseppe, but I can't remember if it's Andrew.
Yeah, I think it's Andrew. Yeah, but yeah, like no beard and like that length of hair, I looked a lot like him. And so I was the party dude for a little bit.
Josh, what you got next on your list, sir?
All right, so I went with another 90s flick. Wes Craven's original Scream is definitely on there for me. The reason why I think so is because like when I watched it, like it felt like too modern. I felt like it was something that could that could happen around somebody my age or people, you know what I mean? Like I felt
very
like
realistic.
It was, it felt real. Like, you know, and I always joked and like wanted to be in for Halloween, Ghostface, and you know, get the voice changer and make prank calls. But to be 100% honest with you, when the lights went out after I watched that film the first night, I was fucking terrified to sleep by myself. Yeah, because I was afraid Ghostface was like staring at my window. So that
it was probably Barrett.
It was
probably Barrett.
But yeah, actually, it's so
this
funny.
Podcast is brought to you by Cake.
1 second. I have the product.
I'm going to go ahead and throw myself under the bus. I have never actually watched all of Scream.
Oh, wow. Really?
Dude, it's good.
It's good.
Okay,
I know.
The beat-off lotion whenever you're away from your wife and have to beat your own dick in the middle of Alabama.
Okay.
God bless you. God bless you. Taint hairs and all.
I have no fucking pride whatsoever. No pride.
Well, Scream is a movie I feel like has started to get the recognition that it never. I mean, it was popular initially, obviously, in Halloween costumes, even over the years.
MTV
It's still
killed
Ghostface has continued to be a character in a costume. But I feel like there's been a revival of it, and a lot of it has to do with the more recent Scream that's come out as well. But
remember that
Scream
shitty
definitely,
MTV series?
Like that was me becoming a teenager when that came out, It was
Garbage.
huge with us as kids. Like, we wanted our parents to take us and let us get into it. Rated R movie, like the controversy,
Yeah.
And and Wes Craven being involved as well, like that automatically had everybody on high
And him
alert.
killing that chick
Well,
with the garage door.
it was a new slasher. So we have our top three.
Right.
We have top 3 slashers, and then we get to Ghostface, which is the 90s slasher. Then we later go to kind of like Sam. Sam's kind of a slasher. So I mean,
put Chucky on that list too.
Yeah.
I would throw him in on that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it screams. I mean, honestly, it's just Wes showing everyone it's not a fucking fluke.
Right.
You know, it's like everyone, was really down on Wes when he made that. He had nothing but bomb after bomb there for a while. And then he just comes out swinging with this movie that is super fresh, super, like you said, it's like you guys were saying there at the beginning of this, it's almost like dialogue you would expect to hear in a TV show.
Right.
Like, but it's not. It sounded like people you knew a lot more so.
Exactly. You can relate to characters.
It sounded like people who are aware of the situation. And it was just, I mean, then later became like the staple for so many of those. Kevin Williamson kickstarted an entire way to write stories because of that. But I mean, God, you could do a masterclass on filmmaking with just the opening scene of that movie. It's just
right.
Well, speaking of the opening scene, you have to talk about like the big controversy of that film when it came out. So Drew Barrymore is being advertised as being the star of the film. She dies right away in the movie.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. If you haven't seen it in 20 plus years that it's been out, 25 years now, fuck you. So it's
fuck you. And also it's like, do you guys
spoiler for a 20-year-old movie. The bit at the end when you get the reveal of what's really going on, and they shank each other. That bit where Matthew Lillard is like, I think you fucking got me too deep, man, and he's like, just goes fucking pale as a sheet.
Right.
Oh man, that fucking still holds up. Like, the girls love Scream, man. We watch it every fucking Halloween, and every time that fucking end scene comes, every time it's really well done. It's brutal.
It's just so much more real because the characters are like reacting to it in a way that's acknowledging the punishment on themselves. Like that actually how much it does hurt. It's not just screaming. It's an acknowledgement of like, oh, this didn't feel how I thought it would feel.
Right.
Which is kind of more fucked up than just like just as like the surface level. You're like,
definitely.
Oh shit, yeah. What'd you think getting stabbed would feel like?
Is this what I'm doing to people?
Right.
But it sounds like sociopaths, though. I mean, it sounds like a Jared Kushner way of like trying to relate to humankind. Which he's clearly a lizard.
Or fucking Mark Zuckerberg in the house. So just want to hammer on a couple other points with Scream before we move on to my next on the list is to narrow in on Doug's point about the dialogue. The dialogue did feel very real and it was very modern. It felt like kids of that day speaking, so it actually translated to the youths, if you will. So that's another reason that it got such popularity in and of itself. And Wes Craven got into this bad rap in the 90s where he would lend his name to things. So like Wes Craven Presents, like with Wishmaster, for example. Wes Craven would like sell his name off to products, to franchises to lend credibility. That's what I'm trying to get. Absolutely.
No joke.
Get that Wes Craven money, motherfucker.
Just slapping my name on a thing.
I wonder.
Danny King Presents.
And
you might get more asses in the seats.
Somebody who did one of those.
Who is that? I mean, what's that guy about? I don't know.
Hey, I almost want to. Is Wes Craven copyrighted? Because I could start whipping that out on my fucking D&D painting page. Hey, Eddow's Emporium. Presented by fucking Wes Craven, bro. He's from the grave.
Like, I listened to somebody talk about that did one of those films like that. And they said it was more or less like a studio thing where they like worked out an agreement with them to produce a certain amount of films for him. And what he produced, he would just show up for like a day while they were shooting, like, oh, looks good, and then go home. It was super low effort, but it was more or less the studio made with him to make actually. Fuck, what was it? They fucked him really bad on Scream. Yeah, the Weinsteins, like when he did Scream, they fucked with him through Scream.
Wait a second, Doug.
The Weinsteins?
Yeah,
Don't talk anything about the Weinsteins. They've never done anything wrong.
They've been through a lot lately, Doug. You got to pile this on.
Hey, listen. If you can touch Jesus Christ, you can touch Buddha. You can't touch the fucking Weinsteins, man. That's a fucking line.
but yeah, so they that was like a way to make amends to him, but it didn't actually like really amount to much. And then when he came back to do Scream 4, he was like, "Oh, well, it's clearly got to be better than it was then." Straight up, the first like 2 days they were shooting that, a bunch of people walked off, like left the project because like the fucking idiot Weinsteins were on like fucking with Wes the first day, like as soon as he started shooting Scream 4.
Well, good for them, because where are they at, Doug?
Oh, exactly. Well,
or where's one of them at?
We know where one's at. I don't know what the fucking the other one's doing.
So I'm going to go ahead and unload another one of my picks because we're starting to get toward the back end of the list. Danny, did you have something you wanted to add before we got there?
To that, no, that was hilarious. I liked it. I played squash with Harv, as we call him.
Oh, okay, Harv.
Yeah. No, the guy's a fucking monster. I can't believe he's allowed to work with anyone. Please carry on.
All right, absolutely. All right, so I'm definitely going to throw a huge curveball into the list in the vein of some of the campy picks that have been picked. And then I, of course, had to have something very J-horror related. And this is definitely in the cutting edge of things. I have 1977's House. So this is a Japanese horror film that is extremely campy and fucking bonkers. The first time I saw it was when I very first got streaming television. It was a part of the Criterion Collection that used to be a part of Hulu's packaging. So I saw this probably about 22 plus years ago, I want to say, for the first time, which obviously came out in 77. So it predates, its release predates that. But I went into it blindly just knowing it was a Criterion selection. And I thought, okay, well, it's got to be good. So I didn't realize what I was about to get into. I am a Japanese film fan. Yes.
It is absolutely haunting visuals.
Depending on how you go into it, obviously, it can be enjoyed on multiple levels. I often describe the movie as a really bad acid trip to people. Like, it definitely is that. However, if you're looking at it at a literal standpoint, in some respects, there's some of the most haunting visuals, back to Danny's point, throughout this movie. And if I was to simply describe the plot of the film in as least amount of words as possible, is essentially it's schoolgirls who go out to a trip on a countryside to one of their relatives' homes, and just the most batshit bonkers shit just starts to ensue like a perpetual ball rolling down the hill and picking up momentum. And the house begins to consume. Absolutely. It's an old fable, Confucius say. But anyways, the house starts to consume all of the schoolgirls progressively until there's none left. So
that sounds wild.
It is a wild ass movie.
Yeah,
I've never seen it.
It is to be enjoyed, and I recommend a little bit of the green kind if you're a fan in enjoying so, because it will be ultra entertaining. I have watched this movie countless times. I just showed it to my wife for the first time last winter, and she's obsessed already. So House, 1977 Japanese horror movie, and I don't know that I could do it any better justice than that.
I didn't know Japanese were making banger horror films in the 70s. That's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah, dude. There's a couple other ones we could throw out there, but yeah, House.
They're still at it.
In the comments.
I know modern. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
They had a good late 90s, early 2000s run too, but recently too.
Yeah.
Well, Danny, what you got next on your list, sir?
What's up? Okay. Have you guys seen Voices? The Voices with Ryan Reynolds?
No.
I have.
I have not.
No,
yeah.
I got one. I've
seen it.
All right.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Super fun, man. I got the director right here.
My wife is obsessed.
It had a very limited U.S. release. And this is one, again, it was just like a blind rental. And I was like, yeah, I'll watch it. It's got, Ryan Reynolds in it. I'll check it out. Directed by Marjorie Satrapi, maybe?
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, it's a
It
good
is-
film about how we
It's called
excommunicate
American
certain.
Patriot, the new
Yeah.
horror film.
It's it's outstanding though. It's Ryan Reynolds plays a mentally ill man, and his dog and his cat talk to him. The dog's like,
I do know this.
he's like, "Oh, Jerry,
Yeah.
you're a good boy." And kill that cunt at work. So
Yeah,
it's
And it's all- Is the cover like all white with pink lettering on it?
yeah,
I think.
yeah. Really, really fun. And I remember thinking, I'm like, this is like a weird in the pocket of like funny murder movie. Weirdly,
Yeah.
like you're kind of rooting
Definitely.
for
Yeah.
the psychopath. But there are
love that
brief
shit, though.
there are really brief bits in that movie where they the veil of you're watching the entire story unfold through Ryan Reynolds' eyes essentially, but he's mentally ill. He doesn't see things as they are. And there are a few moments in that movie where they kind of lift that veil and show you what is really happening.
Right.
And it is just fucking grotesque
Disturbing.
and abhorrent.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it's real disturbing shit. And then it goes right back to his happy psycho shit.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just fucking a delightful, fun time. And
Yeah.
I definitely think it has the horror elements in it. There are bits that will make you uncomfortable.
It's got a Dahmer head in the fridge, I think.
Yeah.
At one point. Yeah. I
there's a
remember
bunch
what
of that
you guys.
shit.
Yeah.
The
ending
dog
of
and the
that
cat
movie
are
is-
the dog and the cat are fucking hilarious. They're all the sidecast characters are in it that are that are great. Anna Kendrick is in it.
Right. Yes.
Yep.
She's the head in the freezer.
She's
Right.
one of them, I think, at some
Or
point.
one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, just a really good cast. Fun flick. Also, still has that horror element, and like you said, some of you guys would be like, "Oh yeah, I might have seen that, or I've seen the cover of it, or I might have watched that." But it's worth a revisit. You know what I mean? I think it's a fun one that I recommend to people if you haven't seen it or haven't seen it in a while. It's worth your attention.
Absolutely. Doug, what you got next, sir?
That one has a really, really fucking heavy ending.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does. Yes, it does.
Oh.
It's all right. If there's a latency, it'll
There it
record fine. So, Doug, what you got next on your list, sir?
All right, next up, I have got The Shining.
Oh yes, I
Yeah.
didn't even
And-
think about to put that on my list.
Not the Mick Garris miniseries, the Stanley Kubrick.
Movie, right?
Masterpiece.
What about the one with the guy from Wings? You did one.
Wait, that's the one we're talking about, right?
It's only one on my list, goddamn.
Yeah. The only one that matters, baby. But yeah, I mean, it's like what can you say? I mean, it's honest to God, one of the most thrilling, captivating, hypnotic movies ever made. I feel like there's
Definitely.
so much. Like I remember, being a kid and listening to this older lady talk about it that I didn't know, and she just referred to it as pure evil. Like she was convinced that the
Great.
movie itself, in
Boy.
its essence, was evil. Like
I'd love to show
just
her a
like
few
in
films.
it- yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. But when you're like 7, that's one of the most terrible. And what's funny is
Sure.
like I hadn't seen it by that age. Like it didn't. It was scary, but it wasn't like to me. It's like I watch it. It's like almost trance-like. The whole movie feels like it takes you in as a viewer and it holds your attention, and it's absolutely horrific. But it's at the same time also doing things on such a subconscious level. It's such an incredibly crafted movie. But yeah, like she just listening to her talk, like just the tone and atmosphere of the movie just made her so uncomfortable that she just believed that the movie itself was just evil. And I love that because it's like really the only way to describe how that movie makes you feel is it feels like a foreboding march into madness. It doesn't feel like it's slipping. It feels like it's an inevitability. Like by the end, you're going to come to this place that, that Jack ends up in. And there's just so much that can be said. Have you guys ever seen that documentary they did?
Where I was
Yeah,
getting ready to talk about
237.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right,
Yeah.
237.
Yeah, I think a majority of it's absolute bullshit. There are like at least, I don't know, 3 really key points, like the inevitabilities thing that they break down with like the geography of the hotel from the top down and
Yeah.
walking into the manager's office, and that there shouldn't be windows behind him, but there are. And just those little tiny subconscious fuck yous throughout that movie, I think.
Yeah.
And it's just like, Kubrick never winks at you. He never nods at you. He doesn't care if you caught it or you didn't. He's just putting it there to be at work in your mind without you even realizing it's happening.
Yeah,
sure.
And I remember a few years ago that going around on like the horror threads, that if you punch in really, really tight on Jack's necktie for like when he's in that interview, that the necktie is the top-down shot of the maze.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. And it's just
cool.
layered with
I didn't
so
realize
many
that.
things like that. It's just, and there's little things like shit that's in the background of one shot's not there in the next, and it's not a continuity error. It's absolutely there to just continuously make you like notice things peripherally that aren't right. And, not to mention just the sheer craft of like, not even Kubrick, but the things that King brought to that story. It's definitely one of those, I feel like, it's like I watch it every opportunity I get. The 4K version of it is fucking gorgeous. And I
also, you did not allow this friend into your movie theater. I mean, he's giving you so much. This was a joke, and then I end it.
Did you watch Dr. Sleep?
Hell yes.
Of course, yeah.
Fantastic.
So
I have not finished it.
Did you guys love it?
Loved it.
Loved it.
Man, I was super into it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so well done. Ewan McGregor is one of my favorite actors. So,
Absolutely.
His performance you can't discredit.
To live up. Holy shit.
Right, absolutely.
Like that movie is just fucking stress on terror on fucking
You're dealing with a guy that's coming out of addiction as well, had traumatic experiences in his life. Like it's just so
he looks the part.
Yeah, absolutely. Like he looks like an entirely different person from start to finish as well. Like they just and the callbacks to the old imagery from The Shining that is in Dr. Sleep are so well done as well. And it's again kind of almost to my Get Out point earlier, is that it's its own thing, but it still yet is rooted in tradition. And I love when films do that, especially present day, because things have become so homogenized nowadays with film production and everything else, and everything's so spoon fed to you. Dr. Sleep was in a way a breath of fresh air. So yeah, it was definitely a good one too.
Yeah, I was into it. I liked the I think a lot of criticisms for it are probably panned towards like, well, it's not very much like The Shining. It's not. Most of it doesn't take place in a hotel either. Right, exactly. I like the way that it actually expanded on the lore of the actual Shining bit, and the gal that they got to play the villain for that. They're fancy vampires, but they're fucking scary as shit.
Yeah, they are.
Fucking baseball scene with Jacob Tremblay is haunting. It is terrifying.
Yes, absolutely.
And you don't see anything. It's just what he's going through.
Also, I have to mention, has anybody actually been to the Stanley Hotel?
I haven't.
I have.
No.
Oh my god.
Went to the film festival with Elijah Wood.
Yeah, Brandon.
With Elijah Wood, I gave him a big old hug. Actually, you and me, Doug. I remember at Fantastic Fest, you were like, "Hey man, can you get my Maniac poster signed off?" And I was like, I was drunk enough. I went up and I was like, "All right, I'm gonna do it because I'm a man of action." And I walked up to him awkwardly and gave him a hug mid conversation. I was like, "Hey, my buddy over there could use your signature on this." And later, I meet him like 6 months later at the Stanley Film Festival. He's like, "Hey, buddy, what's going on?" And I hugged him, and I was like, "I'm sorry what I did before." And I walked away.
I talked to him about it like a year later, and he was like, "Oh, dude," he's like, "Whatever." He's like, "I get it." And I was like, "Okay."
So I want to bring up, if you've actually ever been to the Stanley Hotel, there's aspects of it that you see and you're like, okay, yes, that's in the movie. But there's a lot of large inconsistencies, which the hedge maze in particular, they have a hedge maze out there, but it's dwarfish. It came up to my hip.
They
were running.
They were
just
head level. They were just starting to build it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of goes back into that mindset of like you realize like movies, even though it's like set one place, like the shots aren't actually done in one place per se.
Oh, for sure.
You know,
Right.
things are dressed
That's
up.
actually
and
one of
everything.
my other many favorite things about this movie is how much misinformation is out there about it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's insane. Like because like you said, like in the film, the hotel is made up of 3 different locations combined. So
Right.
there's a shot that is the Stanley, then there's a shot that is an artifice, and then there's another shot that's an artifice that they like. I can't remember what the second shot is a different hotel. But
Yeah.
there's a third shot that's like an exterior wall that they built that they shot as the hotel. But then like the hedge made for instance in the final film when it's snowing, that's all indoors in a studio.
Yeah.
And it's
To get
like
the
this
right
is,
lighting
you
and
know,
everything.
yeah, and it's like when you know I've had people like try to argue with me about it. It's like I've watched documentaries about this. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
like you know, it's there's the.
I mean, they got the right guy to do the job. Of course, he faked the moon landing, so
yeah, for sure.
right.
Yeah.
But
So
it's
he knew
like
how to
his
shoot that.
daughter-
I want you
Yeah.
guys to imagine a world.
about it, yeah.
I want you guys to imagine a world. 2011. In a world that has been destroyed by chaos. A bio-cop there from the sludge
Hell yes.
to rage across the arcana. And one of the greatest films of all time, practical effects wise, that I was on the Kickstarter and the motherfucking credits, bro. The Void.
Ah,
The
Oh man, I love the
Void.
Void. Yeah.
The Void
Well-
is dope as fuck.
Yeah.
It speaks for itself. Cultists, practical effects, destruction, and eldritch fucking eatery. I mean, the Void is definitely, and that's a selfish fucking take because I put in like $250, and that took like 3 years to make. I mean, it was a constant fucking. That's right whenever Kickstarter started. That's right whenever it was becoming big. The Void is definitely one of my tops of at least
So
the past 20 years.
You did run a couple references there together, so I want to back it up for the audience in case they haven't seen anything. If you haven't seen Manborg, you must see Manborg. Manborg is fantastic. But the
If you want to
Biocop that's
laugh,
in Manborg,
if you want to laugh,
there's also Biocop.
Biocop is probably one of the more hilarious shorts I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And it's
absolutely.
just a dude suffering. And he's not doing anything but suffering. There's all this shit going on around him, and he's just in pain.
But if you haven't seen any of these, maybe you've seen Psycho Goreman or PG.
Psycho
That is my
Goreman.
favorite film of 2020, Psycho Goreman. And that is an excellent film as well. So these guys have done a lot of cool shit. But The Void, back to your point, Brandon, that is Lovecraftian, Cthulhu-laden, monster movie. Like, I mean, you could cultish. There's a lot of elements that go into that.
If anybody's played The Last of Us 2 to see one of the last bosses in that game, and to see the culmination of arms and like discombobulated like parts,
right?
Yeah, bro, that's a fucking film for you.
And that movie in and of itself is heavily inspired by John Carpenter too. So yeah, it's definitely worth a watch.
Takes place in a hospital, so
yeah, absolutely. Bridge, what you got next on yours?
Oh, what'd you have to say, Doug?
I was gonna say that movie's so fucking good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is, bro.
My next pick would probably be Mandy.
Hell yeah.
Fantastic movie.
Fuck yeah.
And Nick Cage, like
acting class, man.
The axe. The axe.
So Mandy is a film that achieves kind of what we've talked about a few times that we've enjoyed in some movies. Is it's got its sections to digest. So at first you're kind of getting to feel the landscape, the situation, the background, the scenery. Nicolas Cage and his betrothed are in a desolate place, small town, looks like mountain town, if you will, or village, if you will. And there's obviously some nefarious characters at work. And, you kind of build up an awareness of these characters in the background, and you understand that, as things progress, that they're going to be kind of, the perpetrators of some heinous crimes throughout the movie. And very huge characters, obviously, it's the minute that they're introduced to the screen. And, and then it kind of transitions into the tragedy aspect. So it definitely has an element of a Greek tragedy to it, really. And then kind of the final act, of course, that's when things get batshit crazy. But, and that's what really has gotten its popularity and cult following, is kind of that final act of the film. But, another great movie from the same director who brought us from Beyond the Black Rainbow, getting ready to be on the Guillermo del Toro Cabinets of Curiosities. He's got a short there. But yeah, just a fantastic movie. Soundtrack is fantastic. We talked about it last week with Andy Triefenbach on the show. But yeah, Mandy's fantastic. Anybody else got anything else to add to Mandy?
I mean, it's look at it.
It's a beautiful fucking film.
Beautifully shot.
You could almost take any still out of the movie, start to finish, and be like, oh, it would be a cool desktop background. It looks beautiful, and then it just is badass and savage. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. It's a fun time. Absolutely.
What you got next on your list, Josh?
On this one, this one's maybe a pick more so for the artistic style and just specifically for the story. And again, I don't know if it's technically horror. I guess it's listed as horror thriller, but it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie, and it's The Village. And I've always had an infatuation with the story of that. Adrian Brody's character, brother of one of the main characters of the movie, he does fantastic in it. A lot of people shit on how that movie ended, but it's one of the main reasons why I love that movie was the actual story.
I liked it. Guilty, right there with you.
Yeah,
yeah.
Same.
Always liked The Village. Liked it when it came out. I took a lot of fucking heat for liking The Village.
Me too.
I still do to this day, but it's a classic for me.
I think most people do for liking any M. Night Shyamalan film. I think it's very niche and very.
Signs is kind of up there with that. For me, with Shyamalan, that's kind of one of the guilty pleasure ones with me.
Village is still good.
Yeah. But
I mean, Josh, they're traveling to a world with water, man. I just don't get that one. I mean, they're traveling to a goddamn world with water. I can't get behind you on that. I tried to back you up on the last one, but fuck you.
Yeah.
They're a bunch of glasses of fucking water, man.
Waters and everything. How do they even walk through the yard? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh my God!
Water in the atmosphere.
I mean, the planet is 70+% water.
They'll never achieve the Midwest. It's too fucking humid here.
Yeah,
they didn't even fuck with us.
I would kill to see a fucking 2-minute short film remake of that. That's more or less them freaking out, looking outside, and it starts to come toward the house, and it's fucking rotting as it walks up, it's melting.
It's just aliens melting the whole time. The one thing I will say is it had an anti-Semite in it and a Semite in it, which was really fucking weird.
Necessary, obviously.
Yeah. But Joaquin Phoenix's performance was probably great, but I haven't rewatched it since, fucking forever ago. But
Signs not for the story, more so for stuff like the jump scares, where the kid's looking out the window.
Josh, say things like Unbreakable. I mean, that's something to get by on M. Night Shyamalan that we can not like Glass or fucking some water vapor aliens. Jesus fucking Christ.
But yeah, The Village.
Yeah, the Village, the big thing with M. Night Shyamalan is you gotta have a plot twist. And the thing that people had a lot of issue with back in the day was the twist at the end. Well, it turns out they're in a little enclosed society. Again, sorry to ruin the movie.
I don't know. I think that's kind of cool. It's like a cult.
That's what I liked about it. Yeah, because growing up in basically a cult, I thought it was kind of cool.
Right? Yeah.
They escaped a cult.
That fucking monster design for the when they're wearing the thing, the monster get up,
bone thing.
Fucking top tier creepy.
Yeah,
again,
great.
practical.
Just like a big porcupine, a porcupine monster.
And again,
that's fucking scary shit.
To go into the color too.
It's almost
the yellow and the red.
What's the film that you love, Doug? That's the Wicker Man. Yeah, Wicker Man. Like it's very creepy.
I mean, he's named after.
Like the idea of it. Yeah, that's the reason why you like it. Fuck you. All right.
Well, guys, I'm going to go with my last pick on the list. I'm going to go with my last pick on the list. And so this has to be a substitution for me because Danny cobbed the Exorcist from me earlier. So I'm going to go with what a cock. Dead Alive. Dead Alive has to be my
Dead Alive is good.
Fucking dope.
The reason, so many reasons. Bands used images from it for music videos.
Hell yeah, they did.
So quotable. It is a comedy horror. It's unapologetically exactly what it is. It takes everything that I love about 80s horror movie, amps it up to 1,000,000. It borrows it borrows from Evil Dead and like movies like Cemetery Man in some respects, which I both love. And it's uniquely its own thing still yet. The gore in it is tremendous. The practical effects, the blood is just astronomical. Still yet, as far as the blood's concerned, I think it's in at least in the top 10, if not top 5, as far as fake blood used in a movie. And this is a film that was made in 1992. A Peter Jackson film too, mind you.
I was going to say
the Ring.
Peter Jackson.
I was going to say how cool Jackson to dip his toes back into something, like this.
That would be cool.
I really wish he would. And actually,
I agree.
Sleeper film that I almost put on this list for me was Frighteners. I loved Frighteners when it came out. I thought it was excellently acted. Michael J. Fox.
Movie. What a comedy,
so much
man.
Substance to it. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a comedy, Frighteners. Yeah. But,
And one time that he wasn't fucking trying to shake while he was eating something. Yeah,
absolutely. He kept it under wraps and that one for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he really kept it grips on.
But, so back to Dead Alive. Peter Jackson in his early years, his early filmmaking career, kind of balling on a budget with that one, but still yet, there's so many iconic scenes that I could call out. But the one in mind in particular I have to mention is the lawnmower scene where he starts with the lawnmower and he's got to turn it as a push lawnmower and he's
pushing through the crowd of zombies. It's
so
good, yeah.
That to me, I was just like, I don't know, it felt like things went into a different gear whenever that took place.
Didn't Dr. Acula use that in one of their music videos?
I think they did, yeah. A lot of heavy bands, grindcore bands did a lot of concepts around some of the imagery from that and so on and so forth. And it's sad to say, but there was a $3 million budget to that movie, and it only made $240,000 in the U.S.
Oh, damn!
On box office.
Really?
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong; it wasn't necessarily a U.S. released film, so whatever they made in the U.S. market was ancillary, I guess. But nonetheless, that is a movie that's definitely made its bread and butter off of DVD sales, VHS sales, the rental market back in the 90s and the early 2000s. And the cult followings and the re-releases and the special editions and so on and so forth. So I definitely got to call out Dead Alive. And I feel like has to be mentioned in our conversation today. And it ties in some of those other films that I mentioned earlier that are worth noting as well. So kind of like your Evil Dead franchise, of course. And I love Cemetery Man too. That's another one that I love a lot.
Hell yeah, bro. All right, Danny.
Danny,
what's
up
up,
next, man?
All right, I have it's like a home invasion flick. It is more comedy centric, but it's one of the most entertaining home invasion films I've ever seen.
This ain't that Forrest Whitaker movie, is it?
What?
Let him go. Let the man speak.
Was it originally a French film?
I don't know. It might have. I could see that maybe being the case. It's directed by Dan Burke and Robert Olson. Came out in 2019. It's called Villains. and has has stars Bill Skarsgård.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That was not what I was thinking.
I was thinking Funny Games USA.
I do like the Funny Games USA movie. I before I knew it was 5 horror movies, I had a list of like 20, and that was on the list. I like the French one too, though. But I did like the US one. That was my first exposure to it. But no, Villains is it's really, really fun. The cast and it's absolutely incredible. Here, I'll pull it up here. Give me 2 seconds, because there's really only 5 people in the movie, and they're all hitters.
Yeah, that's one I haven't gotten around to watching yet, but it definitely did intrigue me. It looked really good. I think is the concept not, Danny, that it is a home invasion film, but they kind of like picked the wrong house, if you will, like the people.
It is a pick the wrong house scenario. They break into the home. Stars Jeffrey Donovan and Kyra Sedgwick as the homeowners.
Yeah, and
they're doing this weird. They've got their whole fucking weird story. It's super weird and creepy. And Bill Skarsgård and Micah Monroe starring. Yep. We covered it on an episode, but it's not. It does have horror elements in it, but I would say it is more of a comedy, I guess. But man, it's a lot of fun, and that's one I think a lot of people had probably missed. It was on Hulu for a really long time. I don't know if it's still on there or not, but
that's one I've definitely got to get around to watching. But I've certainly seen plenty about it. That it definitely intrigues me.
Yeah, it's brisk too, so you know what I mean. It's not going to eat up your whole night. I think it's like maybe an hour and 20. Yeah, but it's paced really well, so it's a fun, breezy watch.
So you're saying a normal runtime compared to everything we get now that's like 3 hours long?
Yeah. Some movies I really do look forward to simply because that they're an hour 20. But that doesn't mean anything, because some movies that are 2 hours long feel like, I wish there was more of this.
Right. Yeah.
And some movies that are an hour 20 long feel like they're fucking a 3-hour epic.
Right.
It just
depends. Right.
Depends.
It just depends on what you get.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can't unfortunately add too much to that one because I haven't seen it myself yet, but I'm definitely need.
Well, that's good. That's good because I want you guys to watch them though. Is the ones?
Yeah, that's kind of the point of this conversation.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
The one
on the list I'm looking forward to now.
The one thing that
see what else you guys got.
The one thing that I will say about Villains is it's definitely got its dopey duo doing what they think are the best things. And they are supremely overloaded by what is to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Jeffrey Donovan, I think, is just an absolute fucking banger in this, dude. He's so charming and fucking creepy. And at the same time, it's great.
Hell yeah.
New Steve Buscemi.
I gotta put that down to watch for sure. Doug, what do you got next on your list? Your final submission for the 5?
Is it Pumpkinhead?
By the way, Doug, while you guys were gone, indulge us and let us know that he's been on 4 Benadryl today. To try and get over something. So I'm pretty sure in the middle he's been like endlessly wanking his floppy penis in the middle of these like dropouts.
Well, we already established it's too big to be on camera, so.
You got on Benadryl, man?
Benadryl, man.
You got
no big deal.
Yeah.
But no, The Descent, man. That's my
Fuck yeah. Great.
Yeah. We love The Descent for sure. I remember when me, Reg, and Brandon watched that back in the day, the old Nature's Cup apartment.
Watching it for the first time and even watching it recently, it has the same impact. It hasn't lost any of its edge that it had. It's definitely a movie. It's scary without creatures in it. Like there's so much of that movie that's just terrifying from like a realistic point of view. And there's just a lot to be said. Like the fact that so much of it's actually sets and you can't tell.
Yeah.
Like it's nuts because you would actually, I remember watching it for the first time and thinking like, how in the fuck did they get a camera in that?
Yes.
How could, it just, how minimal the score is, how perfect the sound design is.
Yes.
When it reaches that third act, it just switches gears and goes balls to the wall. Like it just like there's just not a moment that feels like it stumbles or follies anything. It feels like it's just a movie that has such confidence. Like I love Dog Soldiers a fuckload. Like just the amount of growth as a filmmaker that Neil Marshall made from that leap from Dog Soldiers to the Descent is just impeccable.
He's got a new monster movie coming out that they just released a trailer for today.
Yeah. Barrett just dropped that trailer in our chat.
Yeah. But yeah, The Descent is a great movie. My wife had actually never seen it, so I just showed it to her like in the last 2 years. So I rewatched it relatively recently. Like I'm a guy that's like strangely does not like rewatching movies usually, because I feel like sometimes whenever I go back for that second viewing, it loses some of its luster for me, and I don't want to like lose some of that magic with that first viewing for me. But if it is like undoubtedly a good movie, I will rewatch it to, obviously as well. But like for me personally, and it's not to say like I'm like omnipotent or have like the best viewpoint on movies by any means, but like for me to watch a movie multiple times, it has to be good. And Descent is definitely one of those that is in a rotation for me to watch more than once. Absolutely.
As I've gotten older, like now my rewatches have more and more distance between them.
Yeah.
And it feels like, when you come back to visit something you haven't seen in a while, like The Exorcist earlier was a good conversation for this, where it's like, I remember that movie's so interesting because like you watch it as a little kid and you see everything through the kid's point of view. And then when you get older, you see everything from Jason Miller's point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I imagine when you get older, it's going to be Max von Sydow's, and like, so it's like, it's a movie. It's like every age you have a new interpretation of how the film plays. That to me is where rewatches have amazing value. Like if a certain movie, but it's like, I feel like you don't get that if you don't set on it for a while and then come back to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Brandon, I'm about to hand it off for you for your next pick. But one point I forgot to make on my Dead Alive conversation earlier. We had a band that named a song Dead Alive after the movie too. So that's another reason that I love Dead Alive. So yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Brandon, what you got next?
All right. So the last one I went with a psychological horror because of my wife. She loves psychological horror.
Me too.
So I would go with and one of my favorite actors in cinema now, two of my favorite actors, Colin Farrell and Barry Keoghan.
Yes.
Were in it. Killing of a Sacred Deer. Killing of a Sacred Deer was one of those movies that I felt super uncomfortable about. And it's mainly because Billy Keoghan. He is an unsettling actor.
Yeah,
we see it. Yeah, we see it in Green Knight. We see it in multiple movies like Batman. Everything. He brings a resonance that's it's rough. And to see like a limp body of like Colin Farrell being dragged, or wait a second, it's Colin Farrell dragging him. I can't remember, but it's one of those things it's a family horror thing where it's touching on your kids and your wife and your
it gets personal.
It gets super personal, super quick. It's very uncomfortable. That's my fucking nightmare. So yeah, that's like an actual nightmare, right? Where you have this being taking on like all these roles that you don't want them to take on, and
and that director Yorgos, he's a fucking wild ass director. Of course, Dogtooth was kind of the big film that a lot of people like know him by now. And but Killing Sake, I actually love The Lobster. That might be my favorite movie.
The Lobster is great.
I really love. Not necessarily a horror, but it's really good as well. But yeah, Killing Sacred Deer, not one that I considered, but definitely a good pick.
Yeah, that's one that I don't think that I'll ever shake off.
Barry Keoghan looks like he will stab you.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It looks like a little fucked up soccer hooligan.
Is that the same guy that plays The Flash?
No,
looks
Barry
like the kid
Coogan
that
is
got,
Joker.
he looks like the kid that got
Oh!
suspended for like pissing in the classroom or something.
I'm thinking of the nutbag flash actor.
You know what I mean?
I can't think of
Pissing
his
in the
name.
classroom and then going, "Hey, buddy, you want to be my best friend?"
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's a fucking creepy. He's a creepy dude. I watched a couple of interviews with him. Just fucking nice as he can be.
Absolutely, yeah. It's odd.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he definitely has a switch in him. Like he can turn it on and off for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Bridge, what you got next on your list?
Next on my list is one I watched a lot when I was a kid. Still watch it now. Love it. Poltergeist.
Hell
Oh, yeah.
yes. I didn't even think about that either.
Cooper.
That movie
Like-
petrified me, yeah.
Like,
didn't
and
think
then
about that.
I think as I got older and I realized that those were like real skeletons in the little swimming pool pit, the mud pit, that I was like, oh, that's even cooler. But yeah,
Good
there's so
production.
many different good parts in that movie that are terrifying.
Yeah.
And then it has the dude from Coach in it, and it rules.
Hell
It's a
yeah,
good
can't go
movie.
wrong.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
Craig T. Nelson.
Yeah,
Craig T. Nelson. Yeah,
Craig T.
Craig T.
Nelson.
Nelson. Man, when he fucking pukes up that worm skull baby slug thing and it skitters
Yeah.
across the floor.
That's Poltergeist.
That's
2?
what I think about whenever I give a blowjob now.
That's
It's
Poltergeist too.
like literally like,
Oh, is
I'm
that
just
two
like,
when he pukes
ah.
the thing up?
will it skitter? Will it skitter? Is what I always think about whenever I give a blowjob.
Some might argue that should be the name of my children, Little Skitters.
Little skitters.
Baby
Baby skitters.
Baby
What do you
skitter.
got? What do you got next on your list, Josh?
My last, but definitely like
Take
not
us home
least,
strong, son.
American Psycho.
Okay.
And the reason
Are
why
you
I'm
sure?
gonna pick that.
You sure it's not Count of Monte Cristo? Because look at that.
Well, now that's a good book, but the film, I'm not sure. I haven't seen the film, so I'm not sure.
Well, I've seen the film. It's right in front of me right now, and I'm looking at it.
Danny's about to lose it.
Dude, that Monte Cristo thing is fucking money.
Whatever.
Three Musketeers. He's talking about that face right here, son.
Let me take my teeth out for you since it's a horror.
Oh, God.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But anyway,
Welcome to
no.
horror.
American Psycho, and specifically just for Christian Bale's performance in that. Perfect.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just some of the scenes, like the dancing to Huey Lewis, and putting on the plastic
Sports,
cover. Baby. Yeah, I mean, it's such a classic, psychological thriller, horror, stabby, fun film for me.
Hell yeah.
It's nostalgic. It's a 2000 film. I was 11 years old in 2000, so yeah, it got me. It was a good one. I still love it. I catch it whenever I can. So
Yeah.
I like
It's
it.
got a lot of
It really
rewatchability.
is. It really is a standout performance.
yes.
As an older film that I've seen several times. The last time I sat down and watched it, I think I watched it last year actually, and I remember sitting there watching it, I'm thinking to myself, what a fucking psychopath.
Perfect.
But I
right?
know that it's the name of the fucking movie, but
Absolutely.
it's just being in his headspace is so fucking like, what the hell is the matter with you? And it still comes through. Plays
and the
through
business
just great.
card
Yeah.
scene.
Oh,
Card
yeah.
scene that really captures how well he portrayed that role.
I don't think there's a better scene in the
Sure.
fucking film than the fucking business card scene where they're talking about each individual business card and the reason why I hate the fucking man. Fuck the man, bruh.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
But yeah,
Always.
American Psycho. That would be my last but not least.
Honestly, like there's a lot of picks on today's list for everybody. Like I didn't see comments, so that's a good thing. And we definitely brought the variety today. Like before we get out of here, I want to give everybody one opportunity to throw one honorable mention out there real quick. Just in case you feel like there's something you didn't able to give something justice. Does anybody have anything hot off the press that they're ready to throw out there? Raise your hand. I'll call on you.
Well,
Uh,
go ahead,
no,
Danny.
go ahead.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead, because yours is probably better than mine.
Man, mine's not even a movie though.
well.
And it might be something you guys have already talked about, but I would just want to throw an honorable mention out there to Dahmer.
Oh, dude.
The monster Jeffrey Dahmer, whatever the actual title of it is.
Evan Peters, man.
That Evan Peters performance is fucking amazing.
Hands down.
Very uncomfortable.
And damn straight, it is fucking extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Although it's not, it's not 100%. They take a couple of creative liberties with it, as you probably should for a project like that.
Yeah.
But they stay to a lot of facts. They do stay to a lot of facts.
Yeah, they for sure do. And I don't think it could have been boiled down into a movie, but just that we're talking, horrific media types of stuff. I think that's at least worth a little hat tip. You know what I'm saying?
And worth mentioning, tomorrow the Dahmer tapes will drop.
Yes.
It is October 7th.
No
so
shit.
if you've seen the Gacy tapes or what was the other one? Bundy tapes, it's the same people. They're doing Dahmer now, and they do.
I was wondering if they do that. Yeah.
Yep. Same folks behind it. Doug, what do you got for an honorable mention?
Whoa!
Oh,
Josh had one.
That's
Josh,
right.
bring it back.
Well, I'm not sure if it like is horror, but like Gremlins, does that count?
Sure.
Oh, it's horror. It's horror.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
cheesy fun
It's a
horror,
Christmas
but
movie.
damn, dude, Gremlins holds a really
Christmas horror.
yeah, it's like a tight spot in my heart for sure. So
Go watch the kitchen scene in that movie when the mom's facing them by herself. Take out all the like funny wackiness of it and just watch it. Like that's probably one of the most straight horror scenes in that film.
yeah,
Even the track that do you hear that shit?
And then also I'd say probably the ending with like Spike or whatever dying or dying. So that's just straight fucking horror, man. Like just that's
so Gremlins.
Yeah.
Well,
so
quick anecdote about Gremlins specifically. I was super disturbed by Gremlins, which is weird because I saw all kinds of movies when I was young, but it was one of the first prominent horror movies that I remember.
I'm the same way.
And so this really fucked up thing happened where I saw Gremlins, it freaked me out, and then I had this dream that the Gremlins could turn into people. And they masked themselves as people and would kill people.
Oh shit!
And they killed my uncle in my dream. They killed my uncle in my dream.
Yeah,
sure.
That's a good fucking concept, my dude.
Yeah.
Well, this is where it gets real fucked up. So I have this dream that they turned into people. This is a running dream for weeks. I'm having nightmares. My parents had to put a nightlight in my room. This, that, the other thing. I had this running dream for weeks. Well, I have this dream that they killed my uncle, and my uncle's my best friend. It's my biological aunt's husband, and he dies. And so it fucked me up so bad. I was crying. I woke up crying, that sort of shit. My uncle dies 3 days later in a car wreck. So I absolutely refused to watch Gremlins for the longest time on account of that specifically. It fucked me up that bad.
Wow.
And it's just happenstance.
Yeah.
I had this dream that he died, and then he ended up dying.
That's crazy, man.
It was fucking wild.
I can understand that, man. That's fucking heavy shit to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was 6 when this happened. So, but yeah, it was fucking wild. But yeah, so Gremlins is one of those movies that I don't fuck with really that much. I mean, I've watched it since Pam wanted to show it to our kids a few Christmases ago. That I watched, but yeah, it's not one that I sink my teeth
go
into.
to.
Traumatizing for you a little bit.
So Doug, back to an honorable mention for you, sir.
Yeah. So I'm not going to expand on anything. I just will kick out a quick, rapid fire list of my honorable mentions. So I Saw the Devil, You're Next, Anna and the Apocalypse, The Invitation, The Church, and Annihilation.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Invitation and Annihilation in particular on that list are ones that immediately stood out to me that I could go on about forever. I love both of those. So yeah,
exactly. And I figured they're really on there because they're really, really fucking good movies that I feel in some cases, they're not the go-tos, they're not the heavy hitters, they're not the ones there's sometimes ones you might have to sell people on, but I feel those are the ones that given the opportunity, I'd go out and pitch for, you know what I mean? Say, okay, check this out, this is a good movie, you're gonna really enjoy it.
I'll take the same approach as Doug, and I'll just throw out some that I had in the bank and not expound upon them. And some of them have already been mentioned, so I'm going to skip over those. But Evil Dead was on my list. Rosemary's Baby, Hellraiser, Hereditary, The Thing, Alien, Eyes Wide Shut.
Eyes Wide Shut.
That's actually my favorite Kubrick movie, maybe. Naked Lunch, Lost Highway, And then I mentioned Cemetery Man earlier, but that was also on my list as an honorable mention, as well as last but not least, American Werewolf in London, best werewolf movie ever.
I actually forgot. I guess I deleted The Ritual off of my list, so let's go ahead and throw that back on there.
Yeah, Ritual.
Brandon, what's an honorable mention for you?
So for me, I don't know. I don't think many people watch this in our group, at least, but Gretel and Hansel is actually a really good film that came out like 2 years ago. Where
talking about the one with Jay Wren?
Jeremy Renner, he loves that one. Hansel and Gretel.
Is that what you're talking about?
No, he's talking about
no.
It's a weird choice. Back that up.
Yeah, this is Jay Wren, and then they have bows and shit. No, Hansel and Gretel. Yeah, very good. Creep is a good one.
Creep's good.
And what was the other one? Take Shelter. Take Shelter is a really good one.
Yeah.
And then Wormwood, which me and Doug were at the film festival for. So I would honestly say, try and watch Gretel and Hansel. It has not been publicized. It's not huge, but actually watching the film, it's very dark, very fairy tale-esque, very icky. Right. So it's fantastic, man. And then, of course, The Ritual.
Yeah, I skipped over 7 earlier on my list too. I had 7 on mine as well, and some people make an argument about 7 not being a horror movie, but
they're full of shit.
That's a horror movie. That's a horror movie.
People can be wrong.
What I immediately say, then Silence of the Lambs isn't a horror movie. And I think it's as equally, if not more so, disturbing than Silence of the Lambs. Especially you get into the 7 Deadly Sins and some of the crime scenes and stuff like that, and then the ultimate twist at the end. What's in the box, man? What's in the box?
Anytime that somebody tries to argue the fact that something is not a horror film, in my head, I instantly think, "Go fuck yourself." It's a horror film.
My immediate response is eat my ass. So
if you just started and stopped that title sequence and had none of the other the rest of the movie, you said,
yes.
What type of movie is this?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a top 10 film of all time, regardless of genre, to me.
Yeah, it's a fucking fantastic movie.
Bridge, throw us set us home strong with one more.
I've got some honorable mentions. It's probably not a very liked one, but I really like the first Saw a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Hell yeah. Actually, it's where I had my first time I hung out with my wife. When we
cool.
It's the first time he came.
No, we were with a bunch of people. It wasn't happening there. No.
First time he came after a bus
It's the first time he came.
Yeah.
I just don't think that there's any more iconic thing than that guy cutting his own leg off in the first film.
Yeah.
Man,
that's brutal.
But
when the first time I'd seen it, I never really seen anything that brutal before, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's a key in there.
That movie came out, fucking everybody wouldn't shut up about the guy cutting his leg off. I knew the end of the movie before I even had a chance to see it. I was like, God damn, guy.
Yeah.
For real.
A couple more real quick, like Friday the 13th Part 2. Actually, one we watched here, Come to Daddy. Well, I guess it's a thriller, but that was a really good fucking movie.
Yeah,
it's a fun ass movie.
Yeah.
Speaking of Saw 1, the first time I ever tried to download a movie illegally was that movie, and it was on LimeWire, right? And I downloaded it.
Just fucking tell everybody out here.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna go back,
FBI's listening. Give us the exact.
Well, I mean, statute of limitations. I mean, I was a kid, but whatever. Anyway,
I was a kid. I was just fucking hammering on my shelf and
statutory.
So what it downloaded was that scene, Doug. Was just the leg scene. I didn't even look at the size, the file size, or anything. I just
and,
I was
and
like, this one.
About-
Beep it about.
Yes.
I'd like one more mention. Should I get it in now or?
I don't know. Brandon might come back to us. Brandon, you're buffering on us, brother.
The hotel said no more, bud.
I'm gonna let Ridge go ahead and throw out his other honorable mention.
Well, I can't remember because it's after like Hellraiser 2. I kind of don't really.
Yeah.
Haven't really stuck around for those, but I remember. Was it the third one that had CD Guy? Remember?
I think it is the third one.
I don't.
But
I haven't.
The second one might have the best opening sequence of any horror movie ever.
Yeah.
And Jesus wept. The hooks just
rip
ripping
the
the
face
guy
open.
apart.
I don't know. I've
Which
always liked that
unsettled Josh.
Cenobite. I
Yeah.
don't know. Love them.
And Hellraiser in Space can't not be mentioned, right? You guys
What?
are
Is that a musical?
Oh, dude, one of the Hellraisers, like there's like it's in space.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Like the
Yeah,
space
I got.
sequence.
Well,
something
aren't they
on the list.
technically interdimensional beings? I guess. I mean,
Technically, yeah.
Fuck off, Josh. They're in space.
and they're not allergic to water.
I'm
God damn
surprised
it.
somebody had Event Horizon on their list as well, because that's
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
gotten
Good one.
more of a cult
Oh
following
man,
in recent years.
Sunshine. Guessing Sunshine.
My
Yeah,
wife and I were talking
Sunshine.
about Sunshine before we did this, yeah,
Classic space madness.
and a fantastic score.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic score.
Mogwai.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
All right, boys.
Hey,
I had a
just
really
did
good
the-
time with you.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
Oh.
Danny.
I was gonna say I only got to do one honorable mention. If I could just pepper two or three in.
Yeah.
Sorry to bother you, which you mentioned earlier. Absolutely a horror film. You like that? Yeah, I see that's tickling you down there in the little tiny screen. That's good. Raw was really good.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Raw.
I-
Oh my God.
That's a
I
great
really
one.
forgot
like
about that one.
Lamb was really good. Tucker and Dale versus Evil is a great, like, I don't know,
Oh,
horror
yeah.
movie, I guess.
That's
Yes.
good.
Yeah,
Just
I love
a
that.
couple other ones I wanted to pepper in before we get out.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah,
Good
yeah.
ones.
Yeah, Tucker and Dale versus Evil is actually I forgot about that film. I've watched that so many
They
times.
need to have.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm gonna be Dale for Halloween. That's what I'm going to
Nice.
the horror trivia night.
Hell yes.
Nice.
Yeah, I got my
We're
giver
doing-
hat in the mail.
We're doing a family themed Stranger Things most recent season.
Oh, nice.
With the exception of Pam and I are going as the Scoops couple. So Maya Hawke's character and Steve. Yeah,
Nice,
we're doing the Scoops from the last season rather than the family
Nice.
video this season.
So I would probably go as like a VHS tape.
That's not a bad idea, honestly.
Yeah. Or
Speaking
like
of
a
which,
VCR.
VHS 99 is coming out here before long too.
Yeah.
Right?
Like a week or two.
Which
Mhm.
VHS is another good anthology
soon.
series that could have dropped like more recent. And ABC's of Death, which Doug had a submission for back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And this
yeah.
for Microwave, still got the poster lingering around here.
What was it? 2013.
That's
I
what it
believe-
was called. Yep.
Yep.
Jeez.
It's been a while, huh?
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you all for your time. It's been a long one, but a good one.
Yeah, for
and,
sure.
Really enjoyed
Yeah, no
myself.
problem.
Had a good time. The time went quick tonight, and I know it's difficult to make things happen. And Brandon already fucking wrapped his shit up and took off.
It's
how
got
he
to
is.
get to that cake.
Yeah, he's got to get to that cake. He's clamoring for some cake. So everybody, be sure to check out It's Just Two Movies. Danny, you're everywhere, right? You're on
Hey.
Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
Yeah, just anywhere you get podcasts or shit, or YouTube or whatever you prefer.
Hell
Absolutely.
yeah.
And be sure to check out, of course, Doug's Search Party Pictures. Excuse me, I can't fucking talk now. No, it's been 3 hours of me running my mouth. But yeah, Doug and all the great things that he's doing. And Doug, one of the few repeat guests that we've had on. And of course, Doug will be back on again. And Danny, we look forward to having you back on the show again.
Hell
too,
yeah.
gentlemen. So
For sure.
Yeah, I look forward to it, man.
thank you guys for your time and look forward to doing some stuff with you guys in the future. We'll see you around. All right.
Thanks,
All right,
guys.
man, you
Take
guys
care.
have a good one. See ya.
All right.